Welcome to another episode of Discourse. On this one, we're going to be ranking and reviewing every The Gloom in the Corner album. My name is Nathan, and with me is my co-host Jeff. Also joining us, an expert on all things Gloom, Mikey Arthur himself, the architect of all this chaos. Mikey, thank you for being here for your third time, your Discourse hat trick. How are you doing?
I'm good. As I said before, I'm a little bit hungover, but that's nothing new, to be honest.
I think, honestly, that puts you in the perfect headspace to do something like this.
Oh, sure, man. 100%.
Okay, so Mikey's hungover, and you can hear it. He's coughing into the mic. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited for this. I was really looking forward to this episode for a long, long time.
Yeah. How hungover are you, Jeff?
I'm not hungover. I'm just a little bit tired. It's a little bit late here. So,
Mikey, you know this full well. We're all big fans of the Gloom in the Corner on this show. So we appreciate you being here to talk about your own band. You know, this is the first time on a main episode we've had an artist come on to rank and review all their albums. So I think this will be pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I wonder how I'm going to go with ranking stuff.
Yeah.
My own stuff. That's why I thought it'd be funny, because, I like to take the piss out of myself, so why would I not also just do that, too, at this point?
Yeah. And, I think you're the perfect guest to try something like this with us, because I think it could get very chaotic very quickly.
I imagine it probably will.
And I'm
imagine it probably will.
And so y'all just released your new album, Royal Discordance, which, to no surprise here, is excellent. How has the response been to the new release?
It's been really good. I try not to watch the Spotify numbers and do all that kind of bullshit, but alas, I do.
I'd have to imagine it's hard not to.
Yeah, any artist would tell you it's really hard not to. But yeah, as I said, it's been good. I was pretty scared to put out this record because, as I'm sure you're aware, it's pretty different from Trinity. It still has, its chaotic moments and whatnot, but I feel like as sonically it goes, it's a pretty big leap. And I was saying to someone the other day is that I feel like when you go through these albums, mainly from Homecoming through to Ultima Pluvia, you can see the style, the slow stylistic change that happens once we get to Trinity. And so people who've listened through the discography kind of get that feeling. Whereas I feel like with Royal, it's a bit of a jump from Trinity just because of how chaotic Trinity was. So that was, definitely something that especially with new fans that came on with Trinity or even older fans, I was I'm a little bit scared to put this out because it's either going to push people one way or the other. But so far, so good, I can say.
That's excellent.
That's good to hear. Well, and I hear what you're saying about it being a big leap, but I think it's still very much in line with, what I might expect from a follow-up to Trinity. It is different, and we'll get into that. It's a very logical next step to me, and just one more in a series of very logical next steps for the Gloom in the Corner, which is one of the really cool things about your discography that maybe I don't necessarily know that I noticed to the extent that I did when preparing for this episode.
It's been a wild ride. It's wild to think that's been 10 years to me. Yeah, it's weird. I had hair when I started this project, for fuck's sake.
I was going to mention that when we talked about Homecoming. I was going to say something if you go back and watch any of these music videos, fair warning, Mikey has hair, and it is a bit of a jump scare. I will say, just structurally from a Discourse episode standpoint, this is interesting because usually we talk about the new release a lot up top here in this interview section. But seeing as we're going through all of your albums, we'll get to it. And if you're listening and you want to hear us talk more about the new album, there will be time codes. You can jump ahead or you can stick around with us because we do have some general The Gloom in the Corner stuff that we're going to get to right now. And we have a couple questions from our patrons. And so we were talking about this just before we started recording. The Gloom in the Corner, obviously in lore, the Gloom is an entity. It is a being. What came first, the band name or the idea for the Gloom as this entity?
Funnily enough, the band name.
Really? So what did it mean to you when you came up with the name? Because it seems so specific to the lore.
So You know how I was saying that I hated the name for a long time because of the way that I came about it?
Yeah.
So I got locked out of my old Tumblr one day and I had to make a new one. And that's how I got the name because I thought it was some edgy Tumblr name bullshit.
That is hilarious.
And so I put it with like the little V and everything. That's why the Instagram has the V in corner instead of E.
Yes.
And then like 15 minutes later, I got back into my Tumblr and I was like, or my old Tumblr, and I'm like, hey, the Gloom in the Corner is actually like a cool name. And it was around that time that I was starting like a new project and whatnot. And so that was the name that I went with. At the time, it was meant to be like this kind of, not synth based, but like you look at songs like The Funeral, I guess, and Soul of Angels, and a couple of like those slower songs, or like even fucking Epilogue of a Dead Man. Stupid fucking song. Like
You mean the podcast episode you put in the middle of
yeah, the
that?
podcast episode. Yeah. The 10-minute monologue, yeah, bro, that one. It was originally meant to. Yeah, the huge lore dump that happens at the back end of Fear Me. What a fucking stupid decision. Anyway, who let him cook? No, it was originally meant to be like that kind of, I guess, kind of like soundscapey, soft, kind of almost background music for like what could be a soundtrack to a film with like lyrics and whatnot over the top. So as I said, like The Funeral is kind of like the perfect example because it was the first song written for that. And then when Matt joined was when I wanted to make it into a heavy project. And so it kind of switched up and changed. So yeah, so the name The Gloom in the Corner I kept because I was originally like, oh, this is kind of like a cool name for this kind of project. And then when it turned into a heavy project, I'm like, well, I guess we're keeping it.
I think it works for a heavy project, but I'm just fascinated by. Okay, so you've chosen the band name. You have this heavier project. Was it always meant to be a very lore heavy thing to you?
Yeah.
And when did you start coming up with the ideas for said lore?
So I always wrote stuff in high school, like just short stories and whatnot. A lot of the basis and the world for what makes up the Gloom lore came from those short stories. And it was three that came were Jay, Rachel, and the bad guy in Fear Me called Stuart Thatcher, who gets killed at the end of Grim Sleeper. So I kind of like transferred a lot of like that story or world of like what the sect was. The sect wasn't called the sect at that time either. It was, I can't remember what it was called, to be honest. So I transferred kind of everything over to that and completely rewrote the story. I knew that like I wanted to do like that kind of dark, complex villains worship kind of thing, but I just didn't want to do the same shit of like crying into a microphone because my life sucks, because it felt ingenuine or disingenuous, I should say. So I wanted to take that and see what I could do with like writing what would be a revenge tale around that. And the whole Gloom thing was like came from the name as well. I was like, okay, I'm like, so how are we going to do this? And I was like, said to myself, I'm like, okay, well, why don't we have it as like this entity that comes along and helps, you know, kind of guide Jay through this revenge tale. And then it kind of developed more and more and more and more. In the story, it was originally meant to be like this paranormal disease, I guess, for lack of a better term, like almost like a paranormal STD, kind of like It Follows.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the joking way I put it. And then as like Sherlock got introduced and we started developing more and more of that world, I was like, no, actually, I think this kind of setting sucks. I want to, because people always kept asking me as well, like, oh, like, is it a demon, like an ancient demon kind of thing? And I always said no. And then as I said, I got to like Flesh and Bones and Ultima Pluvia, and I'm like, actually, I changed my mind. Yeah, I'm gonna make it like
actually
an
it
ancient
is
demon thing. Actually, it is. That's probably one of the like the biggest but few retcons that I've kind of done.
Yeah.
And I've very cheekily put it as like, oh, they actually discovered more information about what this entity is, and it's not a disease; it's actually a demon.
They were right all along.
They were right all along. Yeah.
So I kind of jokingly asked you before we started recording, who is the Gloom in the Corner? Is it Sherlock? Is it a different Gloom that hasn't been introduced? Is it beyond the lore?
So the Glooms are kind of like, as I said, like ancient demons, and there's kind of like rankings to them, I guess, for lack of a better term. Sherlock is was one of the higher ranking ones, and in the story, I made it very, very biblical. the first Gloom, which is King Baffico, who comes in, is originally Adam, as in like Adam and Eve. Sherlock is his first son, which turns out to be Cain. So there is like a whole like big biblical kind of thing behind it now. So as I said, like there's the first Gloom, which is Adam, who's like the King Baffico, who's big bad daddy boy, who is very prominent in Royal Discordance and the end of Hail to the King. And then he has like his 7 knights, which include Sherlock, who was, as I said, originally Cain, and then Sherlock's brother, Ency, who was originally Abel. And then like they have like a whole heap of other kind of different glooms, which go through like war, pestilence, death, like yada yada yada. It's as I said, it's a very like biblical kind of thing, but it's kind of it's mainly just a way of me not saying the word demon, because I feel like it's like there's a little bit more to it than just demon. But yeah, they had like the other 5 haven't really been introduced into the story just because there hasn't really been a need for them. They're mentioned in Warfare, but like that's really it. So yeah, that's kind of what a Gloom is. It's just demon on steroids, I guess.
So you said something very interesting there. You said they haven't come into the story yet because there hasn't been purpose for them. How far ahead do you have planned? Or is it kind of like a fluid thing?
It's a mix of both. And I think we might table this one for when we get into Fear Me, because I think
Sure.
what happened with Fear Me and everything moving forward very much comes into that kind of discussion.
Yeah. Okay, we'll table that. So we didn't get an answer on who the Gloom in the Corner is.
Oh, at the end of the day, it's me. I play God, baby. It's me, baby.
Mikey is, so you're one of the Glooms then.
Yeah. I'm the ultimate. Penultimate.
You are the ultimate Gloom. So that very nicely transitions into another question that I had, is the role of the Gloom in the Corner, the band, in the lore or in delivering the lore. Like, what is this band?
There's been a couple of different answers that I've given over the years, and especially when we did the Jay and Sherlock on the Talk stuff like a few years ago, which is now coming back at my own hubris. So the band originally in the story was pretty much just like that. It's just it was originally just a vessel for the story and the music and everything like that. Then when I started doing the TikToks, I started making the joke that Jay and Sherlock were aware of multiple different universes, and they're aware that they're characters in the story of a metalcore band in one universe. So just to kind of like take the piss kind of thing, because that was the whole point of the TikTok. And then once we actually got to Royal, I decided that like, because there is kind of like this resistance force that's going against the king once he comes into power, and it is very like D&D-ish, I guess, that the band actually does become a proper entity within the story, and they pretty much play like bards that tell the tale of Royal Discordance. And if you go into like the lyric sections of the YouTube videos and the About section in Genius, all of the story rundown for Royal is written by Clara, the main character. And she says in Love 2 that like, in the case that she dies, which she does, she's given the spoiler. At this point, the album's been out for like 2 weeks. Get over it. That she's given Gloom permission to tell the story in their own way. So as I said, like it kind of started as a vessel for the story, then turned into like a parallel dimension joke, to turning into like the actual bards that tell the lore and the story with permission from the characters. As a very convoluted.
Perfect, just the way we like it. It's also funny, you said, you know, obviously Clara dies at the end of this album. Spoiler, you shouldn't be surprised by that. It's been 2 weeks. And also, it's the Gloom in the Corner album. I feel like that's kind of what happens in the Gloom in the Corner albums.
Exactly. Someone's got to fucking cock it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Jeff, I mean, I guess you can't really ask your trademark question about, you know, what's your relationship with the band?
No, Mikey, I'll just ask one question real quick before we get in. This is more of just a general question, I think, but you're clearly a very creative person. And so I'm just wondering if you feel like this Gloom lore is like your magnum opus, something you're going to work on forever, and something kind of the story of your life, or if you are looking into the future towards more projects you're going to work on and more stories you're going to tell.
It's a bit of column A, bit of column B. I think like, yeah, you're right. Like the main, I guess like magnum opus of my storytelling is probably the Gloom lore, just because there's so much of it too. And I've been trying to write out as much of the story as I can into like actual short stories and novellas. And Fear Me is honestly the fucking hardest one because of how fucking stupid the story is. I'm not bitter. You can't tell, can you?
It's like you really like Fear Me.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like I have other ideas that I want to do for like other stories and whatnot, but I want to like with the music and everything too. Like I have to put all my focus into the Gloom universe and the Gloom story.
Right.
And like even if the band ends, I still reckon I'll probably be writing like the story of Gloom for,
Mhm.
as I said, like reading purposes and whatnot. Because a lot of people seem to like it, or at least they responded very well with Jericho's short story. Yeah, I think it's unfortunately my magnum opus at this point until something else really cool comes along. But yeah, and I look, I'm proud of that. At the end of the day,
No, you should be.
I was gonna
You
say it's
should
not
be.
unfortunate. A lot of people
it's
really enjoy
unfortunate
it,
for
and
everybody
for a
reading.
Well, and that actually transitions very well into one of the questions we got through Patreon. One of our patrons, Seth, asked if you have any plans for turning the stories told throughout this album into graphic novels or something like that.
I would love to do graphic novels. Like we had this discussion when we were doing Trinity, but it's just so expensive. Like in order for it to kind of happen, like we'd have to lease out the story to an actual like comic book publishing company, something like Dark Horse. That would be the only way that like we could actually get the funding and whatnot to do it. The closest that we've kind of come have been like the Requiem music video and the Ronin music video.
Yeah.
And again, that shit is expensive, dog. Like
Hmm.
it is cheaper to do music videos based within the lore universe, even if it costs like $10,000 to $15,000 for a music video, than it is to do comic book publishing like that. And on top of that,
Dang.
you have
Really?
to write like all the panels and everything like that too. So it's a lot of time and a lot of effort, and that's why I've kind of started writing out the story at least into novellas or like books or short stories and whatnot. Because
Mhm.
it's cheap. Like it's actually cheaper to get someone to edit than it is to get comic books done. So yeah, it's a very expensive endeavor.
Interesting. Another question we got from our Patreon. This one's from Derek, who asks if there are any genre fusions you would like to try in the future, and if there was an artist you would like to collaborate with for said genre fusion.
Ooh, that is a good one. I mean, I have the inkling to tinker a little bit with it on the next record that I'm currently writing, but I want to do kind of like a film noir kind of style track.
Ooh.
Like 1930s detective kind of thing, or like the
Hmm.
old school like jazz lounge kind of thing
Yeah.
with like a saxophone and all that kind of shit. But like, that's the thing. Like everybody's doing saxophone now. Shout out Bill Murray.
Shout out. Shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Bill Murray and Sleep Token on the end of that one track. So I feel like it's
No
kind of like
shout
an
out.
over. That
Yes, shout out.
But I think like that's probably the first one that comes to mind. As far as like collaborating with other people, if I'm gonna get like the saxophone thing, like I'd have to get what's her name, Gabby Thingo, who's in Bill Murray. She also
Definitely
did the saxophone
Gabby. I'm
solo.
not sure her last name, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's a great player. I think if I'm gonna do something like that, I'd love for her to do like a sax solo or something like that on a track like that, but make it heavy. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. That's a great question.
That would be really cool. I'd be very excited to hear a Gloom jazz lounge song.
There almost was one on Royal, which we'll save, but save for the Royal discussion. But
Yes. That's what I like. I love tidbits. All right. I think it's about time we get into this.
we've been talking for 30 minutes. Haven't
I
even
know.
touched the
Oh
albums
my
yet.
We'll get into it. Where can we find you and the Gloom in the Corner on social media?
You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. On Twitter and Facebook, it's TGITC Band. And then on Instagram, it's The Gloom in the Corner with a V instead of an E on corner because I'm an idiot. Which we'll get into. As said, shout out Tumblr.
Well, if you want to find us on social media, you can join the discourse on Twitter at discog_pod, TikTok at discog discourse, and on Instagram at discog.discourse. We also have a Patreon, as I mentioned a moment ago, for anyone who's interested in supporting the show. You'll get bonus episodes like the one we'll be recording alongside this episode, where we come to a consensus on the top 10 The Gloom in the Corner songs. And you'll also be able to vote on what bands we cover when we don't have guests. And as you'll hear later, our second tier donors can read off their rankings on the show. Also, leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Hype. If you're on mobile, give us some hype points. That's meant to help smaller accounts like ours reach more people, get in front of more eyes. So if you do any of those things, we greatly appreciate it. And if this is your first episode with us, it's actually going to be a little bit different this time around. Because Gloom is such a story-driven band, and we have, like I said, the architect of said chaos with us here tonight. We're going to be going through the discography in chronological order rather than in one of our ranked orders. And
Well, chronological is a strong way of putting it.
More or less a release order, I'll say. We'll be going through them in release order and talking about them. And of course, as we do so, we will reveal where they are in our list. But the order in which we talk about things will just be a little bit different this time. So, all of that said, Mikey, I'm excited to see how you rank these albums with us. Take us into the first one we got tonight.
I'm going to be cheeky.
So I'm Fear Me's biggest hater, I guess. Obviously, starting off with Fear Me. That is last.
Oh no, trust me, Fear Me is my biggest hater too. I'm the biggest Fear Me hater I was for a long time. Trust me. But we'll get into it.
Yeah, I'm excited to. Okay, so Mikey, to kick things off, what are the high-level points of the lore that we need to know that are established on Fear Me?
So, Fear Me is a revenge tale based in a paranormal world. It follows the story of Jay, who's a detective for Section 13, which is a shadow government organization that pretty much polices the paranormal. And when his girlfriend, Rachel, is killed right at the start of the album, he pretty much goes on this revenge tale to find out who did it, and it gets very bloody and very messy very quickly. What also happens is he becomes possessed and guided by, at least at this point in the story, a paranormal entity called the Gloom. What has kind of changed, I guess, over time as well is that we'll kind of get into this when Flesh and Bones comes around, but that's when we actually introduce the character of Sherlock. He is like, how do I describe this? He has... The Gloom has the ability to it's a very powerful ancient demonic entity. So it kind of makes like a carbon copy of itself that plays off as another person. And that's what Sherlock is in the story. And this is what I mean by Fear Me gets really convoluted really quickly. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Because we'll get into why. So yeah, that's pretty much him and Sherlock go off and have like this little fucking revenge tale, and they both get imprisoned at the end of it because they realize that the best way to get to the last person is through being in prison, because he's pretty much on lockdown. While they're in prison, they have multiple hits put out on them, which they all fail to accomplish. And it gets to the point that the last dude that they're after, Stuart Thatcher, who's the director of Section 13. Oh, also, it was all an inside job as well to kill Jay's girlfriend.
Of course.
Of course it is. I should have brought up my own fucking document at this point, to be fair. And so he comes to try and big dog them himself, and Jay just straight up murks him because Jay is Jay, I guess.
So true.
And then that's pretty much when Fear Me ends. That's, as I said, very convoluted, very dog shit way of kind of putting it. If you want the actual proper rundown for it, there's the document which goes through everything. It's been a while since I've told the Fear Me story, so forgive me if I'm like a little bit rusty on it.
I think where it gets confusing is the Gloom entity, obviously.
Well, here's the problem. What happens with the Fear Me arc? The story of Fear Me and what happens in the Fear Me arc was actually not meant to happen. Sherlock was also not meant to be a character. From Fear Me, we were originally meant to go into what would become Trinity.
Oh, wow.
Originally, it was just going to be Rachel going through hell to get back to Jay. Homecoming wasn't meant to happen. Ethan wasn't meant to be a character, or the Ronin wasn't meant to be a character. Flesh and Bones wasn't meant to happen, so Sherlock was not meant to be a character, nor was Clara. And ultimately, Ultima Pluvia was also not meant to happen. And so King Baffico was not meant to be a character either. It was originally just going to be Fear Me and Jay going through this bullshit and then Rachel going through hell. So yeah, the reason why the story is so fucking convoluted is because we added 2 or 3 extra releases and introduced different characters that was not meant to happen. And that's why I've gone back and retconned stuff from Fear Me. And the best way that I tell people about Fear Me is that the reason why Sherlock is not mentioned and the reason why the other members of the Coffin Crew, which is like his squad, is not mentioned in a broader sense is because it's meant to be Jay confessing when he gets into that prison and he doesn't want to throw anybody else under the bus. So he tells it from his side and his side only. And as I said, that's why there's like no really any other mention of other characters. And that's kind of the way that I've gone about retconning it.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So what happened? Where did all these other characters come from?
We essentially decided as a band that we wanted to give ourselves a little bit more time before doing another full-length record, and that's where the EPs came from. However, that being said, I have a couple of stories about Fear Me. The fun little story tidbits. It actually wasn't fully completed and mixed and mastered until 2 days before September 25th. The reason why as well, 25/9 plays a big deal or at least the number dates thing, is because that's the day that Rachel gets killed in the law. But if you actually look on our Spotify, it says that it came out on October 14th, I think it was. That's not true. We had to, as with distribution and stuff like that, at least back in the day, you had to wait like 2 or 3 weeks before uploading everything to Spotify. And that's why it's the release date is wrong on Spotify. But the actual thing wasn't done until like 2 days before the album was meant to come out.
Oh my gosh.
It was a very convoluted mess, which gets into my second point. This was originally not meant to be an album. It was meant to be an EP. And then I just kept extending out the story. So the original EP was originally called Blood-Eyed, which I still have a version of. I just saw it come up in my folder before. And it was originally meant to be just the songs Heaven's Collapse, Jay, The Funeral, Coffin Bearer, Oxymoron, and Mud.
That's a heavy EP.
Yeah, that's a very heavy EP. And then we had another song, which was Blood Knuckles, which is what turned into When I Walk. And then I decided to do another back and forth song, which was Soul of Angels and Body of Glass. And then I was like, well, fuck it. At this point, it's pretty much an album. Let's just round it out. And that was when I wrote Grim Sleeper. And Grim Sleeper was actually meant to be on what would become the next release, because I was originally going to follow at least like a little bit of Jay's story in what would be coming next. And then, I was like, we had 25/9, which was originally called something else. And then I was like, well, we can't just go from Grim Sleeper to 25/9. And that's when fucking Epilogue of a Dead Man happened, because I'm like, I need to explain the story here. So, it kind of turned it into this big convoluted mess, because everything is kept like much like the Gloom War. And we just started adding and adding and adding and adding. That's all my Fear Me tidbits.
I love it. Jeff, what are your thoughts on Fear Me? I'll throw it over to you, since you apparently love this album.
I do love this album. I do. I have to admit, I enjoy this album thoroughly. It's just heavy, and it's grimy, and it's heavy, and it's not afraid to be. And I really like it for that reason. Gloom has undergone such great sonical changes, throughout your discography. And coming back to Fear Me every once in a while and getting this really guttural, minimalistic kind of metal deathcore album is really enjoyable for me sometimes. I'm a fan of kind of the avant-garde stuff, so the fact that Epilogue of a Dead Man is in there, I actually really like. I actually think it's really cool and adds to me my enjoyment of the album when I'm looking at it as a holistic project.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad somebody does.
No, I do. Genuine. This is my genuine opinion. When it comes to the lore, I think the fact that this album, again, is very kind of grimy, it's minimalistic, it doesn't have all the flair and the cinematics of Future Gloom, actually add a lot, because the lore is essentially just Jay going on a killing spree. That's basically all it is. And so I think the song and the production and the rawness of the record actually really capture that kind of emotional outrage and kind of the mess of the killing spree. And I think
that's kind of that's why I kind of push it back up against something else. Is I think like looking back on it now, it's like, well, I think I actually did a pretty good job of. Well, I mean, that sounds really arrogant, but like you're right. Like it does kind of encapsulate But it does, like, looking back on it now and like looking at who Jay is as a character, I was like, it does kind of encapsulate the absolute chaos of what happens in that record, even if it is super minimalistic and just like bloody and disgusting and fucking horrible. So yeah, like looking back on it now, I'm like, I wish I did a whole heap of different things, but looking at it from that viewpoint, I'm like, yeah, no, I think it does kind of encapsulate everything, and I get why people like this record now.
Yeah, going back to it post where we are now, it is almost funny how different it sounds compared to modern Gloom. Jeff, you're talking about it, a lot grittier, way more scaled back in terms of scope, where like a lot of recent Gloom feels very grand and larger than life and cinematic. This is very like gritty and not so much like the cinematic brand of metalcore, but like almost like very new metal influenced, it sounds like, through a lot of this. Mikey, I was going to take a swing and be like, how much Sworn In were you listening to when this came out?
It was actually Dark Complex, but I'll fucking take that, baby. Let's go. Shout out the Death Card. Let's go.
Dude, amazing album. Not only the Death Card, but, you know, The Lover's the Devil, which, you know, maybe that's controversial because that's kind of a polarizing Sworn In album. I really like it.
I love that record.
I think it's great.
I love that record.
I think it's awesome. Some of the riffs, some of the way the electronics are implemented throughout this album, like it's just very that era of new metalcore. I mean that as a compliment. Like I enjoy that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to know a funny tidbit though? I have one more tidbit actually. So I mentioned Dark Complex before. If you put Slime and Jay side by side, you go whoop. And if you put Invertebrate and Oxymoron side by side, you go whoop.
Now I'm gonna have to do
that.
that.
I see what Mikey ripped off.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna do that after this episode.
Yeah, I'm absolutely doing that. You know, these are very humble roots for the Gloom in the Corner compared to where we are now. This might be a little out of pocket, but it reminds me of something else that is very near and dear to my heart. Call of Duty Zombies.
Yo, word.
It is very similar to the way that those early COD Zombies maps are much more grounded in their fantastical elements. Like it's a lot more rooted in conspiracy theories and secret experiments. Lore and story bits are kind of rooted in environmental storytelling and ciphers and stuff. Like it all just feels very like bleak and dreary. And then you get to Black Ops 3 some way down the road, and we're introducing aliens and alternate dimensions and an overall story that's much more front and center with the obvious battle of good and evil. And it's just much more grand in scope. And yet, it is still rooted in the same ideas in gameplay loop at its core, just scaled up tenfold or whatever you want to say.
I was about to say, yeah, because Zombies is a big influence. Like
that makes me feel good that I clocked that, man. It feels kind of similar. Like this album's more gritty and, you know, scaled back, talking about secret organizations that hunt paranormal entities and all this kind of stuff, and not quite killing tyrannical god kings yet, you know? It just, there's a parallel there structurally.
Yeah, I think like that was kind of what helped write and influence the story of Gloom 2, was that like, yes, obviously like Defeater is probably the main big influence because it showed me that we can do that. Same thing with Dark Complex and Widow, because that's also a concept-based album. But I think like as far as like, as you said, like with COD Zombies, the way that it starts off very like minimalistic for the most part. And then as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you can definitely see the parallel of things just going absolutely batshit. With that being said though too, what I also did in lockdown was start rewriting Fear Me in the same style of Trinity.
Oh.
Did you really?
Is that ever going to see the light of day?
Dude, people have been asking about it for years. As soon as I
Please say yes.
Well, see, this is a thing. Like, I originally did want to at least have it out this year, but with Royal coming out this year, I'm like, okay, like it's gonna conflict, because originally Royal we were aiming to get it out last year, as I said to you when we were in Texas.
Shout out.
And shout out Texas. But yeah, so I did want to get it out, but it pretty much retells the story of Fear Me from that point in time, like right before Ultima Pluvia happens. So it's both Jay and Sherlock telling the story properly through their AI therapist. And
are you serious?
Yeah. Dr. Bloomfield is the AI therapist in the Gloom lore. Yeah, because they're like testing it out and stuff like that, and it's
The Gloom in the
during
Corner.
that kind of time period between Flesh and Bones and
Wow.
Ultima Pluvia. And so there is like also, it's not just like a rewriting of the songs themselves to be more in the style of Trinity. There's also like monologues and stuff like that that happen between the tracks. So it's like a full grandiose thing that tells a story. And it also ends up being about 19 tracks because it like extends out certain bits and properly goes into like the details of the lore. However, if I was going to redo it now, it would have to be from the perspective of somewhere between Trinity and Royal, because otherwise it's kind of like we're jumping too far back in time. And also there's other stuff which has happened now which has probably influenced the storytelling of that retelling. So I'd have to go back and completely rework it. So will it see the light of day? I want to say yes, but not for a hot minute.
That's such a cool idea. Like that feels very uniquely you, Mikey. I'm not gonna lie. That I can't imagine many bands trying something like that. Like, hey, remember this album? We're gonna redo it essentially.
It's so ambitious.
It's not just a re-recording. Like as I said, it's not like a re-recording like
Yeah.
what Silent Planet did with their first record. It's like it's actually like a full rewriting of the thing, and that's why it's taken so long to also get it done. Because I have other
Total
stuff to do.
redo. Wow.
Run it back. That sounds awesome. What would you call such an album? Fear Me Again?
No, it's originally it was Fear Reimagined.
Fear
And
Re.
then, yeah, that's what everyone's calling it. Everyone's calling it Fear Re.
Nice. We got there.
We've got Fear Retold as well. Like it's playing off the Re thingo pretty much. So everyone's just abbreviated it to Fear Re.
That's kind of great.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie.
At some point, I was also going to redo some of the Homecoming tracks as well and put it into it because they're some of Homecoming's also told at the same time as Fear Me, which we should probably get into because we've talked about Fear Me too much.
We've been talking about Fear Me for a long time. The last thing I'll say, I think Jay and Oxymoron are the most recognizably Gloom tracks. And not just because Oxymoron obviously makes a little callback on Trinity, but I think those are the tracks to me that really stand out on this project. And there's some other ones, but I think if you've never heard this album, you like Gloom, check out Jay, check out Oxymoron. If you like that, check out the rest of the album because there is some good stuff in here. But I think for me, it's relative to everything else in this catalog. This is the one project I will confess that I don't come back to very often.
Hey, look, neither. But I guess this comes into.
And Mikey, I'm gonna be frank with you tonight. Like I'm gonna say it how it is. Like
that's okay. That's what I wanted you to do, Nathan. That's why I said we should do this because it'd be fucking funny. Now that you've shouted out Oxy, I know that everybody in the fucking Discord is going to start commenting below being play Oxy because that's currently the thing.
Play Oxy.
Play Oxy. No, just play Norhell. Anyways, we'll get there. Yeah,
we'll get there.
Okay, now that we've talked about Fear Me for 20 minutes.
Jesus. Too long.
Homecoming. What's going on?
Yeah. Yes! Yeah, baby!
You sickos. You absolute sickos.
No, there's a reason why I have Homecoming so low. And it's Witch Hunt.
What? I thought you loved that song. You always talk about how much you love Witch Hunt.
Honestly, if Witch Hunt wasn't on the EP, it would probably be above Fear Me because one of my favorite songs that we have written is also from Homecoming. So it's a bit of an oxymoron.
Whoa! Wow.
No. Okay. So story of Homecoming. We focus on Jay's older brother Ethan. He works for the military side of Section 13, but he's currently being benched while Fear Me is kind of going on because, as kind of discussed in War, he loses his entire squad after a mission goes wrong. After he he shoots a kid, just general war things. That's also been a long-running joke in the Discord, is like how like Ethan has shot a kid, which is fucking horrible. Like it's meant to be this horrible thing that's happened, and everyone's just taking the piss out of it. Yeah, pretty much. Like, which all right, dude, cool. That's funny, I guess.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so I know, crazy work. I'm like, there's so much other stuff that you guys can take the piss out of, and they're like, nah, Ethan shooting a kid.
Hey, how about like when Gloom actually gets like kind of tongue-in-cheek funny, like and kind of silly and whimsical? You know.
Yep.
No,
They're
I
like,
guess
"No,
not.
we're gonna
Okay.
no, I guess not." Anyway, so yeah, he's kind of benched because he has like severe PTSD, which is talked about in War and the song Paramore, and then everything with Fear Me happens. The sector are aware that there is at least like a hell and a heaven dimension. And for some reason, Ethan gets in his head that Rachel has gone to the hell dimension.
Ooh, that's tough. That's a bad look for her.
Why? Yeah, I know. Yeah, wait till we get to fucking Royal. Jesus Christ. But okay, somehow the doofus is right. His like mindset is that he reckons that he can cure Jay of this disease, because it's still considered a disease at this point, by getting Rachel out of hell and bringing her back to the realm of the living. Which, to quote the TikTok, I can't remember the last time that love exorcised a demon, so that's really fucking stupid. But he's kind of meant to be like a little bit like all over the place. So he doubles down in the way that he wants to get to hell and shoots the new director of the set, which is Scarlett, who, to be fair, also kind of helped with Rachel's death a little bit, but she kind of got a pass because the previous director kind of forced her to do it. That's where Witch Hunt kind of happens, is him shooting Scarlett and then killing himself. So, and then it leads into Flesh and Bones and whatnot. So that's pretty much the story of Homecoming, is that Ethan decides that to try and fix his brother, he kills someone and then kills himself to get into hell.
So you said this project was kind of not part of the original story plan, but at the end of this, in the Genius annotations, and I don't know if this came after or was part of the same time, you mentioned, hey, you think we're going to hell on the next project? Well, we have more characters to introduce. When did you know you were going to do like projects for each of the individual characters and then do like a Avengers kind of moment where they all meet up in hell? Avengers in hell.
Oh, Hellvengers. There we go.
There it is.
I like that.
There we go. No, so the story of Homecoming is an interesting one because Homecoming was not originally meant to be Homecoming. It was originally actually meant to be a split 2-track with a band called Live, Conform, Die from Perth. We were going to tell like our story and everything still kind of just as like a side thing. I was going to introduce Ethan, but he wasn't, at that point, he wasn't killing himself. Like, it was just kind of introducing him as like a little side character, and he was not meant to become the character that he is now. And the 2 tracks that were written for that were War and Brother. Essentially, like, this 2 track just fell apart because like we had different things going on, they had different things going on that they wanted to focus on. And so we had these 2 songs, and then I had written Rodent, which is essentially just a live intro. And that's pretty much like what we developed into the EP. So we had Rodent, Brother, War. And then we were tinkering with this last song, which ended up being Paramore. And originally, as I have it written down here in my notes, Witch Hunt and Paramore were meant to be the same song until we ended up splitting them in 2 and rewriting the start of Witch Hunt.
Oh, interesting.
There is a version of it floating around somewhere, which Paul amicably names Sacrifice All Rats. Like, it's interesting to listen to, for sure. Take, like, that back half of Paramore, pretty much, and slam the ending of Witch Hunt in it, and that's pretty much like the song with a little bit of extra tidbits in between. And the lyrics were a lot more venomous too.
More venomous?
And this is also why I don't like Witch Hunt as well in the context of the album. Paramore was meant to focus on the domestic violence that happens sometimes when soldiers who suffer severe PTSD come home, and it was meant to be kind of a reflection of, like I said, not just that, but domestic violence victims in general. And then going from that straight into Witch Hunt is not good, to put it lightly. And like, even the context around Witch Hunt itself, like, that was the first time that like I'd really gotten personal about a situation that wasn't really kind of related to the Gloom War. And that's also why I don't like it. Because I'm like, okay, like, at least in this context, I've gotten personal before and everything like that, but I don't like the context in which Witch Hunt was put in. I have no problem with the breakdown section where Justin comes in, because it's just a mosh call section about being self-depreciative. But like, that whole first verse, especially coming off the back of Paramore and the context of the lyrics for Paramore, is not good. And I don't I don't want the song to be reflective of us, because it's just not reflective of who we are as individuals. And that's why I will shut anybody down that says play Witch Hunt, like, straight up. I don't care if I'm on stage.
I think that's totally
I don't care if it's at the
reasonable.
merch desk. I'm like, we're not playing that song. And if they have a bitch about it, I'll straight up just clock them for it. I'm like, no, we're not playing that song, dude. Like, it's a horrible song with horrible lyrics. It's not reflective of who we are. This isn't just a whore to a chainsaw moment. Like, this is just me doubling down. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of context as to why we don't play it. But again, that's
So if you're listening to this, stop asking for Witch Hunt. It's not happening.
Please, God fucking damn it. There's someone in the Discord right now who's trying to make a joke out of it, and everyone is like shutting them down for it. Thank fuck. Like, it's
That's cool.
they're trying, like, oh, like same thing with Play Oxy. Play Oxy is funny because it's just Oxy, and they've been doing it for a year now. But like, someone tried doing the same thing with Witch Hunt, and everybody was like, no,
Knock it off.
knock it off.
I was wondering about the Spotify video where it says, you know, the face when you realize the song is trash. I didn't know what that meant, but it makes sense now.
Glad somebody picked up on it.
Because I didn't know what that was, but it makes sense now.
Jeff, you have this project last?
Yeah, I do. You know, I really love this EP. I think it's heavy. I love Brother, one of my favorite songs in the entire discography. There's just something about this EP that just doesn't stick with me as much as the other Gloom projects. It's just not one that I come back to all that often. You know, the other reason is that it's only 5 songs. And obviously, I'm going to rank Gloom projects with more songs higher because I like, you know, listening to more Gloom music.
Jeff, there's a project with 3 songs that you have above this.
Well, that's because that 3-song EP is perfect. It's like 10 out of 10, but we'll get there.
Yeah, that shit's gangsta.
It is.
It's really good.
This one, I mean, Nathan, I think, you know, the arguments you were making for Fear Me, I think maybe hit home closer for me on this one. You know, these songs are really good. I enjoy them, but compared to kind of future Gloom, I just don't think it's at the same level.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, I obviously have this higher than both of y'all. This is my number 4. I really like this EP. And to me, this is the moment where like the Gloom in the Corner really like started hitting. Y'all found your stride here and have truthfully not looked back since. I mean, it's just been winning since this.
There's been a couple of stumbles, don't worry.
You can't see it because we don't record phases on here, but I raised my eyebrow. I was trying to think, what are we stumbling over? Because project-wise, at least, on a project scale, I think it's winning and winning and winning. When I look at this project, it is Gloom's early, more nu metal adjacent or influenced sound kind of elevated. Like, to me, if I want this version of early era, the Gloom in the Corner, I'm not going to go to Fear Me as much as I go to this project. I prefer all the songs on this project to the songs on Fear Me. I think they flow a little better. I think the songwriting is sharper. Your vocals sound better. Like I think these songs are really strong, and like it's a pretty clear elevation of y'all's sound at this time from Fear Me.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, like, you can definitely see the bones of Flesh and Bones. No, you can definitely see the bones of
nice.
Where we kind of go. And I think, like, it's funny, if Witch Hunt wasn't on the EP, this probably would be in my number 5 spot. So yeah, it's a tough one because like I think I walked away with my vocals being happy from this record as well. It's also when I changed up vocal styles because even though like the gritty and rawness from Fear Me is cool, being able to do that and sing at the same time, I kept blowing myself out. So I had to do a change up, and that's why there's been a stylistic change. But it is cool listening to like the first 3 or 4 songs of this record, and you can see very much so that the bones for everything that comes next is very much there.
Yeah.
It is really funny though. I got a comment on a TikTok the other day that said, I can't believe this is the band that also released the Homecoming EP. And I was like, suck it up, princess.
Was that a negative comment? Were they saying
yes.
like, oh, how far they've fallen? That's crazy.
Because it was on the comment for one of the videos for You Didn't Like Me Then, I'm pretty sure.
It is a very different sound, but like to me, it's very clearly like things have just gotten better and better.
You look at songs like Painkiller and you look at songs like Assassination Run and you go, oh, this is like Homecoming and Fear Me, like old school stuff. You look at Brother and you look at Painkiller and you're like, oh shit, this stuff is still there.
Yep.
Like,
for
8
sure.
years later, 9 years later. But yeah, it's cool seeing the bones of like what we kind of became with this EP minus Witch Hunt.
Oh, definitely. Like last episode, we talked about Wage War and how that band has fallen off the wagon since their early releases. And like juxtaposing that with the Gloom in the Corner, a band that has continued to push their sound, to evolve their sound, and continually take step forwards and push what they do. Talking about y'all, obviously, this feels weird.
Bless you. Y'all.
Y'all. Yeah, hey. Shout out Texas.
Yo, shout out Texas.
Y'all shout out Texas. But like comparing that, it's like very clear. Like the Gloom in the Corner is one of the quintessential examples to me of a band that has continued to innovate on their sound and get better and better without losing their early roots and what makes them great.
Thank you. I try my best.
I
don't just try my best. I do whatever my brain comes up with.
Jeff, you mentioned Brother. Fantastic. Just filled to the brim with fun riffs and breakdowns, especially the "So Let the Darkness Take Hold" part. I mean,
yeah, that bit's cool.
That part's nuts. That's crazy.
Dude, I put that Gravity Blast beat in as a shit post. I put it in as a shit post for Nick. I'm like, you can change it. You can just make it a regular blast beat. He's like, nah. And then every time we played it live, he fucked it up. Oh, so based, King. Good on you.
That's so funny. That also feels like a song where I can just hear like a little bit of that sworn in, just a little bit in there. And then War, I think, is one of the first times that y'all really start to show signs of that kind of more grand cinematic edge, especially in the bridge and the outro, because the way those sections are composed, it's just that chord progression is peak. The way the leads come in is peak. The hints of piano, peak. Like it all just comes together so nicely and like in a very dramatic manner. Like you said, it's starting to build out those bones for future of the Gloom sound. And it's just the foundation that's laid here is extremely enjoyable to listen to, in my opinion.
Yeah. I still love War. It's probably like a top 3 for me, honestly. Still, which is a shame that I put Homecoming so low. And as I said, it really is because of the tarnishing of that song at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's funny. Like you can, like When I Walk and Soul of Angels and songs like Funeral and stuff like that walked. So songs like War could really run.
Yep.
They kind of set that foundation, and then War very much solidified it.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think, look, I'll say it, to me, this makes Fear Me obsolete a little bit. It just elevates the sound that much.
No.
And like I said, if I want this era of Gloom, this is what I'm listening to. Respectfully. Next up, we've built out the bones. Jeff, what?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it in the same spot. Yeah.
Oh.
There's a couple of different reasons why though. So this is why it's good that we have this, because I have backstory as to why I feel these way about these records.
Is this the Stumble, the aforementioned Stumble you were thinking of?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the aforementioned Stumble.
Okay, well, first off, what's going on? Where are we?
Speaking of stumbling, this is where the story gets really fucked up. This is where it gets really fucking stupid. And I should have thought certain things through a lot more. As said, this is also the point where we're like, oh, we're going to do another EP. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do it based around the Gloom. This is also where we introduce Clara. So this is where officially in the timeline, Sherlock gets introduced. And it gets revealed straight from the start of Misanthropic that it was him that killed Rachel. Now, up until this point, Sherlock has been... Sherlock has kind of been pitched as this other person in the story. And it's kind of left ambiguous as to, like, what he is. So he's pretty much, as it's kind of pitched, he's the dude that helped out Jay during the Fear Me cycle. And as said, he is pitched as another person. Anyway, pretty much starts working for Sect, albeit on lockdown. They keep him on a very tight leash and start like wrapping up some of the cases that Jay left unattended. Gets to one of them, one of the witnesses of one of the characters killed in Fear Me, tracks him down, tries killing him, fucks up because he's a devil, but he's kind of like, oh, look, like, you know, I fucked up with killing that person and whatnot, yada yada, or letting Jay kill that person. They kind of mull it over, and this person is Clara. So this is where Clara gets introduced. For some reason, because I thought it would be funny, in Bleed You Out, Clara's dad kind of resurrects a little bit and starts like kind of chupacabring people in her old town. And so they go and hunt down her dad, and kill him. That's what Bleed You Out is about. And then they get into a relationship and fall in love. That's what Villain is about.
Trauma bond.
Trauma bonds. Jay obviously does not like the fact that Sherlock is now in a happy and loving relationship. Because he finds out in the background that it was actually Sherlock that killed Rachel. So he starts mischievously planning. This is where we get into the CIA MK Ultra bullshit. And through all of the therapy sessions Sherlock is a part of, they start subliminally messaging mind control stuff. What ends up happening is when the trigger sentence is said, the sect pretty much want him to clean house of anyone still involved or was involved in, we call it the Oxymoron incident because there was witnesses left from that person that got killed in Oxymoron, which includes Clara. So pretty much Jay set up Sherlock to go kill his girlfriend in a revenge for killing Rachel. That's what Dima is about, or Die in My Arms is about Jay finding out about that. What we also find out at the end is that Sherlock is the Gloom entity, which pretty much means that Jay also killed Rachel in some kind of way. Yeah. Like, yeah, Sherlock was possessing him, but like what Rachel would have seen, at least in those moments, would have been Jay killing her. So yeah, rough one. And then they kind of have like a tackle of the mind in Can't Reach the Sun. Jay comes out on top and ends up getting the damned seal, which is actually what I have tattooed on my arm too, which is basically the seal that locks Sherlock from ever being able to control Jay again. He's still there. He's still kind of like a parrot on the shoulder and doesn't fucking shut up. But as far as like being able to control Jay and everything like that, he can't anymore. He's pretty much just a voice in the back of the head. Okay.
So this is maybe the thing that confuses me the most.
Yep. This is the part in the story that fucks it.
Sherlock is not the physical manifestation of Jay's gloom, or is he? Are they separate? So can they now manifest as separate entities?
So he technically can, and what happens is like there's one main residing vessel, and it's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde situation where like if Sherlock is in control, then Jay's body will contort and twist to look like Sherlock. I said same thing with Jekyll and Hyde. When Sherlock is not in control, Jay is just Jay. That being said, because the Gloom is that powerful, especially at this point of the story before he gets fucking nixed, they can appear as apparitions. If the certain, I can't remember what it fucking was. It was like something to do with the cortisol levels or something like that. Get high enough, or whatever the one, like whatever the rage one is. But like if that gets high enough, then like they can, kind of split into two.
I see.
Or at least like appear as like an apparition. So that's what happens in Mud, as well as that like Sherlock technically takes over, but Jay is still there, kind of like just not floating around, but like at least he'll appear to other people. But it's rare that it kind of happens. It's mainly a Jekyll and Hyde situation where occasionally one of the two will like appear as an apparition, depending on who's in control. Yeah,
that makes sense.
I said so this is where it gets fucking bullshit.
And is that why you have it ranked so low?
No, there's other things that made it rank so low besides the story. But it's also like how we were able to introduce Sherlock to Clara in that Oxymoron incident is because like the rage level gets so high, Sherlock does come out as an apparition instead of just being Jay, or Jay just seeing Sherlock in his mind. He does actually manifest in that moment because Jay is so angry when he kills that person.
I see.
So Clara is able to see Sherlock in that moment, and that's how she knows to go after Sherlock.
So really, what's happening here is a love triangle.
I knew someone was going to fucking say that.
Between Jay/Sherlock, Clara, and Rachel.
Well, Rachel's
gone
dead at this
awry.
Point.
That is
gone awry. Oh, actually, no, that's probably what I should say about Dima as well. Over the course of Sherlock doing his fucking shenanigans, because the whole course of this record takes place over the course of about 2 years. Rachel is also haunting Jay from heaven. And at first he kind of just thinks it's kind of like a guilt trip dream, but then like it starts getting more and more real. And what happens as well at the end of Can't Reach the Sun, when Jay gets that seal that blocks Sherlock from being able to control him, and also stops Rachel from being able to contact Jay from where she is at that current point, which we will get into with Jericho.
Okay, so you said something interesting there. Rachel at this point is in heaven, but And I think this is what the Jericho Protocol gets into. She ends up in hell which is what Ethan earlier predicted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm following. I'm
There's a
following.
reason
You know,
for
I
that.
feel we got some
It's a
real
big reason.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll get into it.
So this was the first time that we were actually like in a proper studio as a band and had a producer and everything like that. Besides Homecoming, which I forgot to say about Homecoming. We went to this producer for the vocals of Homecoming because we didn't want to record my vocals at home anymore because I was kind of doing a dog shit job at the time. Fair enough. So we went to a producer and we liked what he did with Homecoming, so we ended up going with him for this whole EP. And I think like when it comes back to, you know, me talking about like not being happy with the vocal performances and whatnot, this is probably one of those records. I also think that like comparing where we are now as a band, like you look at songs like War and Dema and you're kind of like, okay, I can see the correlation. I feel like a lot of the songs or some of the songs on this record don't have that full Gloom feel to them of what I would have liked them to have. And I essentially like just came away unhappy with the project for the most part, which is a shame because like I like the songs on this record, but I also go like there's a reason why when we play Misanthropic live, like there's so much more strings and orchestra and everything. Same thing with Bleed You Out, is because this is what we should have actually done to really transition it through. Because I feel like songs like Misanthropic are like not super representative now, and it's not kind of the sound that I really wanted to do either. Songs like Deer Hunter and Dema are fine. Can't Reach the Sun is sick as well. And of course, like I love Bleed. But songs like Survivor's Guilt and Misanthropic, I'm like, it's not a representation. And I think like it was due to, you know, producer stuff, because it was like, oh, what was cool and trendy at the time kind of thing. And also one person in particular at the band at the time too, I think was kind of pushing for that sound. And then after they left, I was like, I don't want to do Flesh and Bones again. That was silly. So yeah, there's a couple of different things I think which kind of influenced why I put Flesh and Bones so low. But the fun thing about this album, Bleed You Out was originally not meant to be on this EP. So what happened was we did this EP, decided we needed a little bit more time to like kind of cook and get like all the marketing and etc. ready for it. So I was like, okay guys, we're gonna put out a song, at least in between. Came back to said producer, did Villain. I was like, cool, Villain's great because it introduces Clara. It realistically does go in the EP if we want it to, but like we can just treat it as a standalone single. And then we had this song called Thinner Than Water that was originally meant to be where Bleed You Out was. And something just wasn't hitting right with this song. We came back after recording and I'm like, this song just doesn't click. I don't say that we have many bad songs besides Witch Hunt, but like there was a reason this one was scrapped. I went back and re-listened to it the other day and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad we made that decision. So we came back 7 months later and did Bleed You Out.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone was like, Mikey, this is stupid. We should have just let this go. And I'm like, trust me, guys, we do not want Thinner on this record. We want something different. And that's what Bleed You Out was. And I think I made the right call.
I mean, Bleed You Out's one of my personal favorites in the catalog and certainly on this album or project or EP or whatever it is.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. Whatever floats your boat. That song rips.
Yeah, it's so heavy.
Yeah, whereas Thinner Than Water doesn't. And like everyone's been asking in the Discord, oh, can I see it? Can you send like Thinner Than Water through or like put it up as like an upload or something like that? I didn't even send it across to Sharptone when we signed across our back catalogue. That's how dog shit it is. There is like one pressing of Flesh and Bones on a CD that has it as like a bonus track. And I really regret doing that. Maybe I will send it across.
It's out there somewhere.
It is out there somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's still on our Dropbox somewhere. Maybe I will put it in the Discord just for fun, just to watch them blow up. Remittance for Clara's death.
No.
So yeah, she dies twice. She comes it twice. I felt really bad about that because Clara is actually like one of my favorite characters, which is why I wanted to introduce her into Trinity. So yeah, that's kind of my take on Flesh and Bones. I think that like it did its job, but as far as Gloom releases go, like even compared to Fear Me, like I'm gonna be cheeky.
See,
Because at least, like, as we said before about Fimi, it's like, hey, look, at
Wow.
least it's a good representation. This is going to piss people off.
Yeah,
I agree with it,
gonna
though.
piss people off.
I'm not gonna lie,
I agree
Mikey.
with it, though.
I'm upset. This is crazy. This is insanity.
There's a lot of things that I love about Flesh and Bones, and there is a lot of things that I love about Fimi, and both have their reasons as to why they could probably swap around.
Yep, that's exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel.
Okay. All right. I got to stand up for Flesh and Bones. all my boneheads out there, listen up. This one's for you.
Shout out boners. Let's go.
That's crazy.
What up, my boner bros? Fuck. We have fun on the program.
We do. We do have fun here.
All right. Listen up, fleshies.
Fleshies. Oh.
Oh.
I got to stick up for this album. I do. And I will also mention I am probably biased towards this album because my introduction to the Gloom in the Corner was Villain.
No shit. Okay.
Shout out Truant Reacts back on YouTube.
No
back
shit.
in the day. That is how I discovered y'all as a band. I just saw that video and was like, this sounds sick.
Based.
Villain is tight. That's awesome. And have been hooked since. And so this was my first Gloom release as a certified fan of the band. So there's also probably some bias there. Going back to what you said about this not necessarily sounding in line with Gloom's progression as a band. I don't know if I agree with that.
See, but that's the thing. I feel Villain does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Villain does, whereas like I look at songs like Misanthropic and I think it's mainly those two that throw it for me. And I just wasn't happy with the rest of how everything else came out. And that's kind of why it's, pushed it. Sorry, continue.
I will. I like Misanthropic.
Me too.
Oh, I like Miso too.
I think to me, yes, there's not the cinematic elements that get introduced on the next project, which really kind of sets the table for Gloom as we know it now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this does kind of start to transition from like that more hardcore new metal deathcore Gloom into metalcore proper, which gets into gross genre linguistics. Who cares?
I think that's what pushed it for me too, was that like I was okay with us being called a new metalcore band. I understood it with Fear Me into a little bit Homecoming. Yeah, it's a little bit derivative, but at least it's the metalcore side of things.
It is.
When we started getting called deathcore, I was like, okay, this
You're
sucks.
like, cut it out.
I don't like it. Cut it out. Like,
Knock
we're
it
not
off.
a deathcore band, dude. Like,
No.
just because Miso
But you
and
did a
Survivors
deathcore
is
tour
heavy.
here in the States, so that wasn't good
Oh,
for the brand,
wow,
Mikey.
fucking.
You're on the deathcore bill. I don't know what to tell you. You must be a deathcore band.
Yeah, we were the metalcore band. We were the only motherfuckers singing.
Anyways, if this lays the foundation for y'all's like metalcore sound, then it's like, okay, you have this and then you go and put the cinematic elements on top of it after this. This kind of like sets that bare flesh and bones foundation for what y'all do going forward from this. Because I think at the core of y'all's sound, this isn't too far off from it. It just is missing those bells and whistles, so to say, on top of it.
Yeah, 100%. When really the songs should have had them.
Okay, so you're talking about redoing Fear Me. Is there a world where the live version instrumentation gets added? Just patch this. Don't even upload it as a new album. Just patch it.
But as in for the Flesh and Bone stuff.
Yeah.
Probably not, to be honest. I feel like Fear Me needs the redone just because of how drastically different it is within its own thing. I know this sounds kind of like I'm backpedaling, but like with
I was
Fear Me,
about
like
to catch you in that.
Yeah, I was about to say like.
So if Fear Me needs to be redone, surely it must be worse than Flesh and Bones, right?
No, but like Fear Me, like has as Jeff said, like kind of has that charm to it. Whereas I feel like a lot of Flesh and Bones, like I listen to the songs, and I'm like everything just feels very flat and normal.
It does feel much more normal than Gloom that
feels
came
stale
after
to me.
this.
Yeah, like it feels like it's kind of missing that oomph. Whereas I feel like Fear Me has that oomph. It's just a different oomph. Same thing with Homecoming to a certain degree. I love like a grimy production, stuff like that. Maybe that's what it is, but it just feels like too stale. And it's not necessarily Jeff's mix. It's just the way that the production kind of came out. There's no point of differentiation between that record and like another record, for example. Like it kind of fits into a whole heap of different, records that were kind of coming out at that time. And I don't know. It's just Fear Me, I guess, like has that little spark for me, just because it's like I always will be proud of my firstborn chud son, but I thought. But I thought, like, by the time we got to Flesh and Bones, it's like, okay, like, this would have been fleshed out a little bit more.
Fleshed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like...
Boned out.
Yeah. Boned out, if you will.
To defend this album again, maybe it's missing the cinematic elements, and maybe it feels a little more normal, but I think the songs as just pure straight-ahead metalcore songs are really good. Like, they're
fair.
awesome. Like, Misso, as we've talked about, the 47 down, 47 to go breakdown... nuts, and like all the different riffs in that song, every change up, it all hits very hard to me, so I don't feel that it's necessarily flat. And I think even throughout the pacing of the album there is enough differentiation from song to song, because obviously you go from that opening track, which is crazy, to Peace, which is in my opinion like kind of a fantastic pseudo sequel to War from Homecoming, you know.
As it was meant to be,
kind of following up on the events from that and bringing back that melody in the bridge is, you know, awesome. Like no other band is doing anything like that. It's very cool songwriting and storytelling through songwriting. And so there are ideas that show that kind of more grand cinematic aspirations, even if it's not executed in the same way that it is later.
Yeah, that's fair. I can respect that.
And that's all I can ask for. You know, I can't tell you what the best Gloom project is, obviously. Who am I to tell you?
I mean, you can. But I can just tell you that you're wrong.
If I may continue to heap praises on this album, because it's been dogged on during this section. Survivor's Guilt and Bleed You Out is one of the crazier 1-2 punches that I think exists in y'all's discography. It's just heavy to heavy. Bleed You Out especially. I mean, that's 10 out of 10. That's peak. That song is awesome.
Oh, no, Bleed. No, I love Bleed. Don't get me wrong. I love Bleed.
But also Dima.
Yeah, Dima's sick. I do love Dima.
That song is amazing. And the way it culminates in that feature at the end is just transcendent. The We All Fall Down drop is peak. Again, I'll say. Just
it goes
peak.
hard.
And it's awesome. Yeah, I think it was a pretty pristine EP, and that's why I have it so high. I really like this project, and I'm also biased because it was my first Gloom. It was my first encounter with the Gloom.
The first encounter with the Gloom.
That's crazy. Oh, Mikey, your band is so good. I love your music, and then you go and make fun of me.
I wasn't intentionally trying to make fun of you. I was like, Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, that's funny.
Actually, what's crazy about this EP is I actually gave away the ending in the first line of the fucking album.
You're going to have to remind me what that line is.
The Las Plagas de la Mente line. The Plague of the Mind. What is it? The Plague of the Mind. I'm the... So, everyone thought it was Latin and nobody bothered translating it. And then one day I said, it's Spanish. You fucking idiots. And... They're like, oh, what is he saying at the start? He's speaking in tongues. I'm like, bro, it's Spanish. And then once I said that, it translates to Sherlock admitting that he is Jay's Gloom. And he's the one that killed Rachel. Therefore, yeah, like it pretty much spoils that whole thing for Dima. But nobody clocked it. I don't know how. Dude, like it's Spanish. It's not Latin. Like just because it's a different dialect. Like what?
That's giving the same energy as Death Is Where the Poppies Grow on the new album. As soon as I heard that, and I looked at the last track, I was like, we're in trouble. All right. Any closing thoughts on Fleshy Bones?
No, it's great.
It is great. I agree.
Hey guys, I'd still like to preface, I do like that album, but I like my Chud son Fear Me more.
I do too.
Crazy to say because I used
to
hate on Fear Me so much. It became a joke that Mikey hates Fear Me, which I was happy to run with, to be honest. But now, like, actually, like, introspectively looking back on it and forcing me to look at these albums, I actually have a lot of love for Fear Me, and I don't hold the same amount of love for Flesh and Bones. So, which is interesting because a couple of years ago, I probably would have said the complete opposite. It's funny how life takes you through the journey. Anyway, let's get into it.
Ultima Pluvia.
Oh, you guys have done it already. Okay, cool.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
It means final rain in Latin. Here's the diabolical one.
Oh. Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
Number 2?
No
now,
way.
This is probably much like Fear Me and Flesh and Bones. This is probably subject to change in the future, but it's very, very close. I think,
Mm.
between this and my next choice of what goes.
Well, let me
next.
clarify
So,
up top real quick, and I think Jeff will probably echo my sentiment here. This is only low on my list because it is 3 songs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair.
Exactly. It's just 3 songs.
Yeah,
and they're all bangers.
but they are all bangers.
They are all
really
bangers.
good.
They're more than bangers. I mean, these are masterpieces. This whole EP is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
It's so good. So, Mikey, what's going on here?
Something I kind of failed to mention when we were talking about the story of Fear Me as to why Rachel got knocked off the board by the sect. Besides being like the healer and the medic of Echo Squad, she was also the IT person. She kind of started deep diving into the sect's archives and found out that they are responsible for a whole heap of horrible, horrible, horrible things. And she was going to whistleblow. That's why they knocked her off. This is important for Ultima as well. I'm not just digressing. So, Violence is kind of a write-off track. Originally, with this EP, it was actually just going to be Requiem. And I'm glad that we didn't do that, because we got to flesh out the story a little bit more. We get to introduce King Baffico in Warfare. This is where it gets like told that the Gloom is not a paranormal STD. It is an actual like ancient demonic entity. So Violence is kind of a write-off song because in the lore, it is a rewrite of an ancient hymn from back in the first reign times, which was around the time of Jesus Christ and Old Testament, that kind of stuff. So it is pretty much like the Gloom hymn, just rewritten for a violent metalcore song.
The Gloom hymn.
Yeah, it is the Gloom hymn. So there's not really much like story stuff attached to it besides that. What happens in the story is obviously Jay finds out that the reason why Rachel got knocked off the board was because of whistleblowing, and he decides to finish her job. So in this point in the story, Sherlock is locked away on his shoulder, and Scarlet, who was the one that Ethan shot in Witch Hunt, turns out to be alive. He missed. Dickhead. So she comes back and retakes control of the sect. As I also kind of forgot to mention in Fear Me, this paranormal world is all kept out of the public light. Same thing as like the Ministry of Magic and Harry Potter, same thing as the fantasy world in Skullduggery Pleasant, like it's all in the shadows. Paranormal entities are not known to the public, which is why it was also a big thing that Rachel got knocked off, because she was going to whistleblow that there is such a thing and kind of blow up that whole little secret world that, you know, the sect have tried so hard to keep out of the public eye. Essentially, the sect find out about Jay wanting to whistleblow, and they put out a hit on him. This is where we also introduce the faction of the Holy Order, which is kind of like the anti-sect. They're very religious based. They're devout to King Baffico. They believe that mortals are either equal or below the paranormal community, depending on which chapter of the faction you talk to. We introduce one of the leaders of the Holy Order, Elias DeGraver, whose focus song on Trinity is New Order. Jumping ahead, but like just for context-based purposes.
Yeah.
Pretty much like, yeah, Jay and Sherlock plan to whistleblow and release all the sect's back catalogue of war crimes to the public, as well as reveal the supernatural world. And he follows through with it and gets it done. This is where it kind of gets a little bit messy, and I wish I kind of went about this a different way. But DeGraver is the one that tracks down Jay and Sherlock and is the one that finishes them off and kills them in Requiem, because he knows that if the sect get a hold of Jay, then it's going to be a very bad, tumultuous time, like take Guantanamo and crank it up by 11. He's not really mentioned throughout the story, but he is mentioned he's very present in the novella adaptation of Fear Me that I've been writing, and they kind of have a mutual respect for each other. So he's kind of giving Jay a mercy kill, and Jay is like pretty done at this point, but he's tried to kill himself so many times that like he's just tired of trying to do it. DeGraver also has a Gloom. This is where we introduce Atticus Ency, who is Sherlock's brother, I guess Abel in this aspect. Warfare follows Ency in the brief moments before DeGraver finishes off Jay, telling Sherlock about their past life and King Baffico and everything like that, because for this whole time, like, Sherlock doesn't remember any of his previous life or anything like that. It's kind of like a block in the wall kind of thing, and NC knocks it down. And it's kind of like the good way of introducing King Baffico and setting up like what happens in Trinity and everything like that too. That's generally like the main story of Ultima Pluvia is like it's the final rain. It's a final rain as in pouring rain, because we've always had the phrase or the nod to it's always raining in the Gloom universe whenever we're following Jay. This was kind of meant to be our way of like knocking him off the board, I guess, and it's very evident in the lyrics with Requiem that's like, oh, once he's died, the sun will come back out again and stuff like that, and the world will be a better place because he's released all these documents and kind of, exposed the sect of their wrongdoings and everything. As said, the world gets exposed, and Scarlet and a lot of the people responsible for these war crimes get locked up. And the sect gets disbanded because of obviously all the horrible things that they've done. But now they have to deal with combined supernatural and mortal world.
How did they kill Jay as someone with regenerative powers?
This is actually my favorite lore tidbit. I made it as a meme because I thought it would be funny, and I still think it is funny. So, for a little bit of backstory on Jay's regenerative powers, they come from his great-grandfather, who was a POW in World War II and was pretty much experimented on by the Nazis. It's kind of like a generational thing, I guess.
COD Zombies.
And this is some people... Yeah, COD Zombies. Yeah, seriously. So, what happens when, the Nazis get dismantled in World War II and they take all their documents with them and everything is they hide away the information that tells them how to kill their super soldiers and their super soldier program, which is what Jay's great-granddad comes from. It's part of one of the documents that gets released, and this is how DeGraver figures out how to kill Jay and, So, there is a type of bullet that can be made which is derivative of Zyklone A, which, for anyone who knows what Zyklone A and Zyklone B are, is the gas used in concentration camps. These rounds are called life-invasive gassed magnum automatic rounds. What does that acronym to? Ligma.
Thank you for listening. Yep. We'll see y'all on the next one.
That's a Discord's other favorite bit. They're like, fucking hell, he killed him with Ligma. That is awesome.
Jay died because of Ligma.
Ligma.
Wow.
So, yeah, and that's also why he has the eye patch and everything in future releases. Because DeGraver shoots him in the face and he gets him in the eye, and the gatekeepers decide to not fix him up.
Rude,
yeah. It's okay. He gets a mechanical eye. It's just sensitive to light. So he still has double vision, but he has to wear the eye patch to keep the overexposure down.
That's awesome. Jeff, do you have any thoughts on this EP? I mean, you said it's a masterpiece.
I think Mikey did a good job of explaining how much of a pivot this was for the lore. I mean, clearly this is expanding the Gloom lore quite a bit. But I think sonically it also makes a pivot for Gloom as well in a huge way. Introducing, I think, for the first time, the modern Gloom sound that you guys have never looked back from. I guess I'm thankful for this EP in both aspects, for the sonical and also for the lore, for sure.
It's a huge chunk of lore that gets packed into realistically 2 songs.
Yeah, seriously.
Lore dump.
And I mean, violence is just incredibly heavy. Warfare, I love the, there's no God above me breakdown. I think it's so awesome.
So good.
And then Requiem, when this EP came out, was on repeat for me over and over and over. That song is just so beautiful and so grand and so huge and so catchy. You kind of get the whole gamut of Gloom sound on this EP. You get the heaviness, and then you get the cinematic, the stuff that could be played on a stage that you could imagine yourself sitting down and watching kind of appear on a musical, in a play right in front of you. And I think that's really amazing. So the OCP it's great. It really is.
And it kind of leads you into that sound. You get an absurdly heavy song. You get a song that balances the heavy with a big hook. And then you get Requiem, which is full cinematic metalcore. Mikey, we've talked about this a little bit before. That is one of my personal favorite Gloom songs. I think it's kind of underrated among the general populace. Maybe it's so good.
I love Requiem. There was a reason why I wanted to have it as a single. like realistically, like the song wouldn't have happened unless we did the other two songs, because we were like, we need to not just drop Requiem on people because it is such a huge shift. And we're already kind of like in the depths of writing a lot of what became Trinity at that point too. And so we're kind of like, okay, we need to transition people a little bit. And I think that's kind of why I have this EP so high, because like, at least, but like before Royal came out, I could easily say, hey, you want to get into Gloom? Here are 10 minutes
Yep.
that perfectly encapsulates our sound. Forget about Flesh and Bones, forget about Fear Me, forget about Homecoming. Like, if you want a snapshot of what this band is about and what this band is going to be, especially with Trinity coming out, this is it. And also, I think Requiem is also a very personal song for me too. Like, I was going through a lot of mental stuff at the time, and I think Requiem lyrically is very reflective of like what my mindset was. There was a reason why I wanted to kill off Jay, with him being a bit of a self-insert character, if you will, at the time. Not getting too hot and heavy with the boys, don't worry, I'm fine. But like at the time,
Happy to hear it.
at the time, like
that.
there was a very, we were talking about personal songs before. Requiem is a very personal song to me, and I still
It
love
sounds personal.
I'm the same.
Just listening to it.
Like, I'm the same. I wish more people like got around it. But I was doing a podcast the other day, and even she said like, yeah, like Requiem is like my favorite. I'm like, yo, that's cool. Like, even with everything else going on, I'm like, it's still cool that this song like hits with people, I think.
It's so catchy, if I may say so. I feel like one of the catchiest hooks y'all have done.
Oh, yeah.
It's excellent. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with this EP. It is kind of the perfect encapsulation of y'all's sound. It does a little bit of everything. It's kind of y'all's mission statement that sets the table for the two albums that came after.
Yeah,
It's very good.
So,
Speaking of, there's one that's below this, and I'm very curious which one of the two it is that falls below.
If I had to
Ultima
guess,
Pluvia.
I think we can probably guess where this is going, can't we?
I think I can.
Are we ready? Do
But
we want to?
let's see.
Actually, is there any
Any
Actually, no.
tidbits,
Like
any
before
other
we
tidbits?
do this, actually before we go into Trinity and everything like that, I think it's important to note as well that like I think why I rank this one so highly as well is because it's one of the few times that we actually went in with a different producer, and he was like, "There's not really a lot that I can do to these songs," which kind of led into us doing Trinity entirely by ourselves, because it gave us the confidence from writing these songs to do everything ourselves. Yes, I still had a vocal producer and everything like that, but for like a lot of the instrumentation and like a lot of the writing process for Trinity, that was what gave us the confidence, because we were like, we realized we we're going to be something different and quirky, and if there's not much that like a producer can do, like why are we spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get him to record us when we can easily just do it all ourselves and get set up for it? There's a couple of reasons why I love this 3-track aforementioned, but I guess this is where we get into my number 3.
And my number 2.
My number one.
Based!
Look
Shout
at
out Roy, baby, let's go!
It's
Wonderful.
I mean, I will say before we get too heavy into this, we've talked about this album on the show before. It is the only album to ever sweep first place in an end of the year award episode.
Based.
This blew us all away when it came out. And I mean, I still hold this album very near and dear to my heart. It's awesome. It's so good.
Thank you.
What's going on, Mikey? It's the Avengers in Hell. Hell Avengers.
With our Ultima Pluvia wrapping up what we call the Fear Me arc, or the Jay and Sherlock arc, we now move into the Trinity arc. Well, I guess duo arc now, but getting ahead of myself.
Pour
there.
one out.
Pour one out. So before we get too deep into Trinity, we obviously have to give like a little bit of backstory here. We're talking about Rachel and what she was up to in Flesh and Bones, and I guess that means that we have to cover the Jericho Protocol as well, because the Jericho is like the start of this arc, and that's why it's number 1 in the Apocalyptic arc playlist. As said, Rachel's been very, very, very naughty and has tried haunting / communicating with Jay from heaven. She has been told off multiple times by heaven to not do that. What Jay doesn't realize when he chucks in that damn seal to stop Sherlock from possessing him and to stop Rachel from haunting him, which she was currently doing when Jay and Sherlock were having their little fisticuffs moment over who gets to control who, is that when that seal gets put on, it kind of breaks her mind a little bit and sends her a little bit fucking loopy. Which there's a reason why they specifically tell patrons of the garden that we don't want you haunting people, because the more and more that you do it, the more and more that your mind degrades, because your soul is not in the spot that it's meant to be. So Rachel loses her mind, and they put her into a little pocket dimension inside heaven called the Garden Hotel. And essentially the Garden Hotel is a rehabilitation facility for people transitioning to come into heaven, and also for people who have done silly little things like Rachel has and broken themselves and need to be rehabilitated. Rachel gets put into this hotel, and she keeps trying to haunt Jay, despite the fact that he's put this thing on. And again, breaks her mind over and over and over. What's also noted in the story is that in the time of the first reign, which is what Warfare covers, heaven and hell, Bafico's side, were locked in a barbaric and brutal war. Heaven has what's called the Daughters of Alinia. Now, Alinia is Eve, in the same way that Bafico is Adam. They were pretty much like Heaven's hit squad. Rachel's great descendant of Heaven was like Alinia's favorite daughter, in the same way that Sherlock was Bafico's favorite son. When Sherlock meets, Primus Sherlock, I guess you can say, going back to the COD Zombies thing.
Nice, come on. I was going to say pocket dimension. What is this, Mob of the Dead?
Mob of the Dead. When biblical Sherlock, I guess we'll call him, meets a woman not dissimilar to Clara and starts to fall in love with her, he starts to defect from the king's reign. Obviously, the king doesn't like that. And so instead of talking to his chud son about it, he pretty much hands him over to Heaven. He's like, I don't want this traitor in my midst. We'll give you guys a freebie. Of course, after they kill biblical equivalent of Clara as well. So it's pretty much like a rinse and repeat of Flesh and Bones. So the daughter that ends up killing Sherlock and burying him is Rachel's great descendant, which is why when Sherlock first comes to be inside Jay, the first person that he sees is pretty much the person that killed him in a previous life, and that's why he kills Rachel in Fearming. So I'm kind of stuck in a bit of a loop. In the Garden Hotel, pretty much what happens is every time that Rachel needs to have her mind reset, she is killed by one of the gatekeepers, the gatekeeper that appears in the Ronin music video that Ronin kills. His name is Victor Sachs. But every time she walks into the hotel's lobby, there is a painting of that daughter. And there's comments made about how like she's strikingly kind of similar to Rachel, but she has violet eyes. Anyway, every time that Rachel tries to haunt Jay, this apparition appears to kind of tell her the truth, but Rachel's not really accepting of it. And so every time she needs to be reset, as said, which involves her being killed, brain reset, revived by Heaven. This happens 1,015 times.
115 zombies reference?
1015, but I guess
Shut up, it's close enough.
It's close enough. And on the 1015th time, the daughter, the apparition, her reflection is what we call her in the story, is able to finally kind of get through to her and unlock like all of the memories of Heaven killing her over and over and over and over and over again. So it's kind of like, have you guys seen the movie Malignant?
Yeah. Crazy movie.
You know that like fucking, you know that bit where she goes just for like full fucking John Wick like a fucking SWAT team? That's pretty much what Rachel does to the Heaven's guards. And it's fucking sick. Badass motherfucker. So she gets to the control room of Heaven and pretty much decides, well, fuck, these guys are fucking me over. I'm going to blow this place up, not realizing that it's a pocket dimension within Heaven. Basically, what was it? The thing that could reverse a dimensional collision or like fix up like pocket holes within a dimension is called the Jericho Protocol. And every time the protocol is initiated, it pretty much like fills a gap within a dimension to stop things from like leaking out and whatnot. However, if there is no current hole to be filled, the realm implodes. So when Rachel sets off this protocol, She pretty much black holes heaven and destroys it. And by some grace of God, through this black hole, gets put into hell. This is why I say Rachel has the highest kill count in all of Gloom lore, because imagine the billions of souls that would be in heaven. And she just fucking blew all of them up. She destroyed that shit. So that's the Jericho Protocol. And that pretty much leads into Trinity. Trinity follows Ronan, Clara, and Rachel. They're guided by this big mysterious dude known as the Narrator, who says that he can help them get out of hell and back to the realm of the living. He sets them off to find these 3 items: Pandora's box, the Hand of the King, which is a big sword, and they need the heart of the ruler of the realm. So they go on their pretty little journey, pick up all the stuff. Clutch is about getting the Hand of the King from Charon, the drunk driving Uber driver of hell, because there is Uber down in hell.
That makes sense to me.
That makes sense to me. Nah, I just thought it was a funny bit. Obviously, Pandora's box follows them going to the frozen lake of Cocytus, which is from Dante's Inferno.
Banger.
Getting Pandora's box from beneath that frozen lake. There's a whole heap of story stuff that happens as well, like in between this. I'm just brushing over it really quickly to give the spark notes so we're not here for too long. Then they get to Behemoth, which is they rock up to rock Asmodeus's shit. And they do, or at least the Ronin does. The Narrator, when he is first introduced to Clara, teaches her portal magic, which is how she gets a short-range teleportation ability after going through this portal. So they set up the portal, and they have like a whole big fucking last kind of battle in hell, kind of defending Clara and the Narrator, setting up this fucking portal to get home. What is kind of neglected to be mentioned up until this point is that they are being chased by 2 mysterious gatekeepers after Clutch, because the reason the car crashes in Clutch is because Charon accidentally head-on collides with another car on Hell's Highway, which happen to be these 2 gatekeepers. So they're chasing down the Trinity, and the Trinity get through the portal. In that time in the portal, when they're like being pulled apart and restructured and everything like a portal does, the reflection of Rachel, who's kind of been haunting her throughout this record, finally kind of like merges with Rachel, and she gets back a lot of her memories from what Heaven did to her. It's why she also has the violet eyes now instead of green. And they land back on the mortal realm. Rachel's eyes are now violet. She kind of has these abilities from the daughter. Clara comes back. She has short-range teleportation. Ronan comes back. He has the same regenerative powers as Jay now as well. So he's really just a fucking unit at this point.
Yeah, unstoppable.
Unstoppable fucking killing machine. That's why I had to nerf him or like take him out for Royal, because otherwise like it would have been over in 5 minutes. And yeah, they go back to the realm of the living, which they realize has been 10 years since at least the events of Ultima Pluvia have happened. Why it's 10 years is because every time Clara portals them around to the different locations that they need to go to get these these items, there is a certain jump in time. What that jump in time is unclear, but as these gatekeepers are trying to chase them around, there's like significant periods of time where like they're just missing. So when they go through that final portal, like it by the end of it, it's been like 10 years, and they realize that everybody they love is gone and dead or moved on. Woof. What's happened in the world of the living in the time that the Trinity have been doing their shenanigans and blowing up places and going to Las Vegas? That's actually canonical. They go to the hell version of Las Vegas, which is really not that much different from regular Las Vegas.
Valid.
Valid. DeGraver has now come into power as the ruler of the realm for the mortal realm, now that the supernatural and the mortals are living amongst each other. And Rachel finds out that DeGraver was the one that killed Jay. And she's like, cool, I'm going to go kill him now. And everyone's kind of like, all right, we can do that. That's cool. Clara's like, yeah, I want my revenge too. He killed my demonic boyfriend thing. Rowan's like, still don't like either of you, but I'll come help out because it was my brother that was killed. So anyway, they rock up to like this big speech thing that DeGrave is giving for the anniversary of Ultima Pluvia. And Rachel just rocks his shit in Norhella Fury with the Hand of the King. And if you're listening to Clutch, there is a warning that Charon gives that says, if you use the Hand of the King on another ruler of the realm, it will have diabolical events. So when Rachel kills the Graver with the hand of the king, she accidentally creates kind of like a wormhole tunnel thing again and collides what remains of the heaven realm and all of the rabbit hole. So everybody now is revived. The dude that she just killed like 15 minutes ago stands back up and goes, fuck. Which brings us to Gatekeeper and Hail to the King. As said, there were these two gatekeepers that were trying to hunt them down across the course of this record. Those two gatekeepers are Jay and Sherlock. I haven't fully knocked my boys off the board yet. Pretty much for the last like 10-ish years, as said, the gatekeepers are pretty much like the police between the supernatural realms. They make sure that everything is in order and like nobody's running away or haunting people or etc. like yada yada yada. By the time that they become gatekeepers is after the events of the Jericho Protocol. But as said, trying to chase them around with this portal magic becomes very tricky because there's significant jumps in time that happen. But with that being said, when Rachel collides all three worlds, they come back. That's how everyone kind of comes back. It starts dropping from the sky like meteors and shit. It's funny as fuck. Anyway, so Jay pretty much lands like straight up in front of them somehow by the grace of God. And he's pretty much like, what the fuck did you do? And doubling down on not only Rachel just coming back and realizing that her lover is dead, now that he's back, he's realized that he's fallen out of love for this girl. And so he kind of like, so he breaks up with her. Right after she's done all this bullshit.
Oops. For now.
Oops. For now. Yeah, for now. And then Sherlock comes back and he's like, if anybody's going to rule between the three realms, it's going to be me, baby. And it starts like his own little reign. Rachel's obviously not happy about it, sides with what remains of heaven, and starts her own thing. Jay goes off and has like a semi-sabbatical. He pretty much just goes off and gets drunk for a week. Because he's like, I'm not dealing with this bullshit. This is fucking stupid. The Ronin's like, yo, bro, I'm done too. I'm out. I can't be fucked doing this, bro. And he goes on his own sabbatical too. And so it gets to, the back end of Hail to the King. Heaven's forces and Sherlock and Clara's forces clash. And the narrator, who is obviously the dude guiding them, comes back and reveals himself to be King Baffico. Who could have seen that coming? Wow, yes. Who could have seen that coming? And then he comes in and just absolutely, once again, rocks his chud son's shit and uses the powers of the box to take away his telekinetic abilities. He can still like regenerate, like Sherlock can still regenerate, but he lost like a lot of his powers from his dad just going yoink. And that's pretty much the end of Hail to the King. We're kind of left on this cliffhanger of how the fuck this is going to go. But obviously that leads into Royal Discordance. So
most importantly, this is where Kyle dies.
Mm-hmm.
That too. That's canonical.
I straight up rock his shit.
Yeah, I mean, this album is so ambitious, both in scope of the lore and also just musically. I mean, from the beginning with the ticking of the clock to the end with kind of that emergency alert system going off and just how crazy Hail to the King is. I mean, the whole album is just so grand and theatric and cinematic. And it's just utterly ambitious in every single way. It's crazy. It's hard to keep track of what's going on at times, very difficult to keep up. You know, again, both from the lore-wise and also musically. Like, it's just so chaotic. So many different layers are happening in a lot of these songs. But that's why I love it so much. And the reason why I have it above Royal Discordance is just because I spent way more time with this album than I have with Royal Discordance yet. Like, for the past 4 years, I've been listening to this album on and off. It was my favorite album of 2022 by far. I've been obsessed with it.
There's a reason why it's my number 3, but I'll let Nathan go first because I've done so much talking in the last like 20 minutes.
I completely agree with everything Jeff is saying. Like, this album, ambitious. It takes that cinematic sound from the EP right before this and turns it up, I mean, arguably beyond 11. You know, this is just utter insanity. These songs are filled to the brim with the cinematic strings, the atmospheric synths, the crazy guitar noises. Like, I cannot fathom what it was like to compose this bad boy. Like, it's just so jam-packed with ideas. And, like, it's honestly super busy. But I think for me, that's part of what's given it so much replayability. Like, the depth of everything that's happening on here is just, you know, it's what, 4 years later, 3.5 years later? and I still listen to it with what feels like fresh ears. Like it all sounds so fresh still, and I think a lot of that comes from how dense and busy these songs are. I mean, you can look at a song like Obliteration Imminent, filled to the brim with so many of these insane moments, like the narrator interjecting with like ad libs essentially, a big old catchy hook. You know, the I Hope My Oblivion Sets In Soon breakdown, the Monique Pym feature, all of these things, there's so much happening. Um, but I think at the core of it, it's the strength of the songwriting that then allows you to go and add these things on top of it. Because all these bells and whistles on top don't really mean too much if the songs themselves at their root, at their core, aren't also very enjoyable.
Which is also why I hate a lot of modern deathcore.
Oh,
spicy take. Yeah.
look, I kind of
Lorna Shore are the best at it. Please stop trying to copy Lorna Shore or Disembodied Tyrant. They are the best at it. Please stop trying to copy them.
Dude, that's so funny. I have a tweet in my drafts right now on the Discog Discourse page.
Yo.
That is, I would kill for the Gloom in the Corner Disembodied Tyrant collab. I just think there's something there that would be sick. Like
that would be very cool.
It would be awesome. So that is very funny you shout them out.
To be fair, like I'm gonna shout out Matt, our old guitarist. He hassled me for like 4 months to listen to this band. And I'm like, I've heard bits and pieces, but like, you know, deathcore, whatever. I'm just not in the right mindset. If I want to listen to deathcore, I'm gonna listen to something like Psycho Frame.
Yes.
Because all Suicide Silence. Shout out Psycho.
Yes. You're speaking my language here, because that's the deathcore I'm into right now. Like the MySpace revival deathcore is it's awesome.
Or Killing of the Sacred Deer as well.
Flesh Prison project. That's the good stuff right there.
Anyway, I'm gonna shout out Matt because he hassled me for months to listen to Disembodied Tyrant. And I finally got around to it, and I'm like, yeah, I fucked up. I should have been listening to this ages ago.
Yep, they're super sick. Also, shout out Behemoth, a little throwback to the new metalcore idea, you know, with little rap delivery going on. Also, a ton of fun lyrics in that one.
Oh yeah,
the devil saying "I've come for blood, blood, blood." That is a cheeky little reference there.
I gotta pay my homage. Yeah.
I
mean, Johnny Ringo was the Johnny Ringo trilogy has and was a big influence on, you know, the story writing and the cinematic aspect, I guess, of where Gloom has come to be.
Oh, I mean, that makes so much sense to me. Like, I feel like, you know, y'all are kind of delivering on the potential and the promise that early Crown the Empire showed. And I cannot thank y'all enough for that.
You're more than welcome.
I appreciate that so much.
So why Trinity is my number 3. Again, kind of like the same thing with looking back at Fear Me and Ultima and Flesh. Let's throw Homecoming. It's a tricky one because, like, I am very proud of Fear Me, and I will always be proud of my problematic daughter of an album. But I feel like why I put Ultima above Trinity is kind of the live experience that we've had with Trinity since it's kind of come out. As you said, there is so much going on in that record. It is jam-packed with stuff, and the songwriting also rolls into that too. What we found when we started touring a lot of Trinity was that a lot of that stuff was not translating live, especially to new audiences. Can't remember, did we play No Hella Fury in Texas?
Oh man, I don't remember.
I want to say
I feel like maybe you didn't, because I think I would have remembered that.
So the funny thing about that song is that we started playing it on the US run, and it wasn't clicking with anybody. It clicked like a little bit in Australia. It took Europe a little bit to kind of get the ball rolling. But for the first like week that we were in the States, playing any of the Trinity songs was grim. We had to change up a lot of how we actually played the Trinity stuff, both in Europe and in the US, because of how badly they were translating live. Because there was so much going on. It's my one regret with Trinity, besides the rapping in Behemoth.
You're not rocking with the rapping?
No, I've been wanting to take Behemoth out of the set for ages.
I guess you don't really do it a whole lot on the new record at all. So
I don't at all, because I don't want to. And like, it was kind of just like a last shoehorn in thing with Behemoth too, because we were like, me and Steve, our vocal producer, like we had original lines there, and they just kind of weren't hitting the same as like what the rap was. The problem was with the rap is that I overcooked it and put too much in. It's layering. If there was, I mean, same problem that I have with Gravity too. If I took somewhere between Nope and Behemoth, like if there was a center point between that, then I reckon I would be okay with Behemoth. But even then, even in the States and even in Europe, Behemoth is a hard one to get people going for live, at least until that last breakdown. But as I said, a lot of these songs are really hard to get across live, especially for a new audience. And I think that's, as I said, like we've put too much stuff into it. Whereas I feel like Ultima is like the perfect balance.
Yeah, the barrier to entry for a new first-time listener, especially if that experience is live, is probably a little high. And while that works on an album, especially if you're a pre-existing fan of the band, I could see how it wouldn't translate super well to a live environment.
Yeah. I would never recommend Trinity to a new fan, potential fan. I would never recommend this first. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, you got to appreciate Gloom before you can appreciate Trinity, you know?
Yeah.
I think so. I honestly think so.
I think that's pretty fair, honestly. You got to be a real Gloom head to appreciate Trinity.
Yeah.
You have to be in Gloom's corner.
Exactly.
To back up
Exactly. So it was a very ambitious record. Am I glad that we did it? Yes. Would I go back and change a whole bunch of different things? Yes.
Well, maybe in 10 years we'll get Trinity.
Trinity. I mean, my final piece that I'll have on it is that, like, same thing. Like, I can go back and listen to the Ultima Pluvia songs, and like, they're fine. It does get a little bit dragging listening to Trinity, and I like to go back and re-listen to our old stuff that we put out. I actually did a re-listen of Trinity the other day, and I was like, "Holy fuck, dude! There is so much going on in this record."
It's dense.
I'm like, damn, bro, what did I do? Who let him cook?
It's dense, but it's peak.
Sure.
Sure.
To some people.
I love it.
I think it's amazing. Big Trinity believer.
Well, I mean, to be clear, like choosing 1 and 2 for the Gloom in the Corner, for me, it's really like 1A and 1B. I love both of these albums a lot. The last thing I'll say on Trinity, the last 3 songs on this bad boy is maybe one of my favorite 3-song runs of all time. Like anytime Nor Hella Fury comes on my shuffle, I have to queue up Gatekeeper and Hail to the King. Like it's just all 3 of those songs back to back to back is just so insane. Nor Hella Fury, you get that Fear Me callback, Play Oxy. Gatekeeper is excellent, great hook, killer breakdown with Ryan at the end. And then Hail to the King, one of the most insane tracks I've ever had the pleasure of hearing. And it is like 8 minutes of the most maximalist gloom absurdity to date. Like it is y'all's Asteroid City. It is y'all's Phoenician Scheme. Like if those are the most Wes Andersons, this is the most gloom.
This is it.
Like this is it. If you want that dial turned all the way up, it's Hail to the King. It's absolutely insane. And you were talking about a little jazz lounge idea earlier. There's some jazzy ideas in this song, but it's also thrown in there and paired with the nastiest stuff y'all have done since Fear Me, at least. Like, this is crazy.
Do you know the story of how I came about the opening of that song?
No, I don't actually.
Hail to the King was probably one of the last ones written, I want to say, for Trinity. Or at least what the last one, like, finished up. Had, like, a lot of, like, the heavy bits. I was just like, what the fuck do we do here? How do we make this work? And I think I had like some idea of the chorus, but it wasn't like as fleshed out as what it is on the record now. I was like, we can't just go from the end of Gatekeeper into something obnoxiously heavy. Like, because otherwise people are just not going to catch a break. So I was like, I know that I wanted to start off like kind of like slow. I just didn't really know how to go about it. And it was around the same time that Joker came out. I remember sitting there in the theater with my friend, and it gets to that last scene, and That's Life by Frank Sinatra starts playing. And I just had the biggest light bulb moment, and I'm surprised the usher didn't come down and ask me to turn off my torch. I went, holy fuck, I know how to open Hail to the King. And that's where the Jazz Lounge thing comes from, is I pretty much went, what if we put That's Life, or a Frank Sinatra like lounge thing at the start of Hail to the King, and absolutely whiplash everybody within the first minute.
It's so good. It works so well. Oh, big cinematic closing track. Maybe we're doing a slower jazz kind of. No,
No.
absolutely not. It's disgusting. But then it's going to kind of go back to it a little bit in the chorus. And then we're going to do the chorus, but we're going to scream it this time and do a full-time thing. Yeah. It's, oh my gosh. That song is your Joker origin story, is what we just heard.
Pretty much.
The section in that song that starts with the gang chant Sherlock A. Bones part into the screamed version of the chorus, into the Let the Tyranny Begin bit, and that into the Your Claim to the Throne is Vain. That whole 3-minute bit there in the middle is pure musical ecstasy to me. Like, it's so good. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
I was like, yo, I know that we get the deathcore thing and that I hate deathcore, but check this shit out.
Watch this.
Yo, let me hit you with a slam real quick.
Dude, it's awesome. I do really appreciate and love the insanity on this. You know, I've had this take on Twitter before, actually, to bring up Bill Murray again, about like Bill Murray in the like 80s hair metal or the electronic or the country stuff does not really make much sense if you don't have the baseline Rich Sips or Wet Milk albums. Like, those set the tone, and it's from those that he then experiments off of that sound and does some crazy stuff. And obviously it's worked out pretty well for them. I kind of feel similarly about Gloom. Without Flesh and Bones, without Homecoming, without Ultima, the barrier to entry, like I'm talking about, it's because those projects exist that you can listen to something like Trinity and be like, this is the craziest, coolest thing I've ever heard.
For some people.
For some people. And I'm one of those people.
And I am a Trinity truther.
I am one of those people.
We are in this house, we are Trinity truthers.
I'm honestly surprised that you didn't put Royal first. I was expecting y'all to put Trinity first. I was expecting a clean sweep across the board of Trinity going first.
I'll be totally honest. I also came into this thinking that, but I just, and this will be a good segue, in listening to Royal Discordance more and more, dude, I just cannot get enough of it. We've been talking about how busy Trinity is. I think what Royal Discordance has going for it, and like I said, it's a 1A, 1B kind of situation. But this feels like a refined version of Trinity that is still very, let's be honest, still pretty dense, still has all the cinematic elements I could ever want.
Yep.
But it's just a little more streamlined and a little more balanced between, hey, this is heavy and crazy, and hey, these are the catchiest hooks we've ever written as a band. It just kind of pushes it just above Trinity for me. It's all I want to listen to. I am loving this album.
Thank you. I think that was, very much the mindset that I had when it came to writing Royal. I actually struggled a little bit with writing Royal initially when I first started. There's only really a couple of songs in the back catalogue that I had, and that was Short Range. That one I wrote around the same time as Trinity, and that's probably why it very much has that Trinity feel to it. It's also why it's kind of like, I want to say the least favorite on the record, because I just don't connect with it in the same way, because I feel like this is almost like a Trinity B-side. The other song we had in the back catalogue, which has been in the back catalogue since 2018, was Love One. The first actual kind of song written, or one of the actual first kind of songs written for this record, was Angels. That was kind of me trying different things. I knew that we had to rein it in from what we did with Trinity. I was like, after a couple of Europe tours, I was like, guys, we have to I'm reining this in. This is absurd. That's pretty much how Royal came about. So I still wanted to keep all the chaos of Trinity, obviously, with all the strings and orchestra and everything like that, but there had to be a ground basis, and that was where Angels came in. And then from Angels came songs like Painkiller. From Painkiller, songs actually Army of Darkness is one of the original ones written too, but then Love 2 happened. It was kind of a big amalgamation kind of thing. The second last song written for the record was Nope. I knew that we'd come back around for this, for the jazz thing. There was originally a song there that was very much like a swing club kind of jazz song.
Mikey, I need to hear a Gloom in the Corner swing song.
I liked it. the issue that I had was I just could not put down the right lyrics to it. Nothing I kind of came up with sat nicely. And so about 2 weeks before I went to the States to work with John, I turned to the guys, I'm like, I'm scrapping this song. I'm going to write a new one. And that's where Nope came from. My ethos behind it was pretty much like, okay, if we're going to do a heavy song or a heavier song, what if we took the ethos of Gloom, which is like all the cinematic bullshit, and made it really, really simple for people to follow along to. I kind of treat it as like a ballet dance. Everything is very structured. Everything is very straightforward. It's still absurdly fucking stupid, and it has a heavy as fuck breakdown.
Yeah, it does. That song almost feels like some kind of demonic child of New Order and Behemoth.
Yeah, the perfect blend.
It's nasty.
Actually, like playing that song live and seeing like because of how simple it is, people just fucking move to it. Like even if we're having like a quiet night, people will still move to Nope. And I'm like, cool, I've done my job.
It's so punctuated too. It's so easy to like nod your head with every single beat. Yeah, I mean, this is the album I would recommend to people to get into Gloom. For sure. Actually, I think Trinity is too much. It's overwhelming, but Real Discordance hits that perfect amount.
But not for a real Gloom head like you.
Yes, exactly.
Not for a Trinity truther.
Not for a Trinity truther like me.
Not for one of our TTs.
Nope.
Oh, Jesus. Nope. That sucks. Oh, that sucks so hard.
Yeah, I can't get over how catchy this album is. Every single song really does have a incredibly catchy hook. And Nathan and I think we're talking about this privately before we started recording that, you know, I can't say the same thing about Trinity, that there are as many catchy hooks on there as there are in here. Like here is just so many earworms everywhere you look. Even Shadow Rhapsody 2 was getting stuck in my head, believe it or not. Even though that's kind of a slower ballad song. And Mikey, you've never sounded better, should I say, on the cleans than on that one, in my opinion. It's so cool that as you guys have, you know, improved your production, instrumentation, vocal delivery, performances, the scale of the lore has also increased as well. And so it's just been fascinating to watch both of them improve in real time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this is easily the strongest collection of hooks in y'all's catalog. Like even the dummy heavy tracks, like The Problem with Apocalyptic Tyranny and Painkiller Soliloquy, have incredibly catchy and memorable hooks in there.
And Army of Darkness.
And Army of Darkness. And I mean, you can really go down the whole list. Like, it's great. And I would be foolish to mention these heavy tracks with catchy hooks and then not also mention like You Didn't Like Me Then.
Yep.
That's Life. Like Love 2. All of these songs have such fantastic choruses that are like such big anthemic sing-along moments. And I think that's what really cements this album as my favorite for me right now. It's just so fun to sing along to. And then it also balances, I mean, the heavy moments are ridiculous. Like it's so
the emotionally heavy moments as well. Jesus.
Yeah, it has it all. Like Painkiller, the chorus is over blast beats. Come on, we're doing balance. It's all about balance. Like it's so fun. And like I think a problem we run into sometimes, you know, with a heavy band that's trying to lean more into a melodic sound is it doesn't quite gel, or like the chorus will take the momentum out of the song. That's not a problem here. Like I said, there are blast beats under the hook in Painkiller. Like the songs just bulldoze through these catchy moments. And I think there's something to that is very unique and special to this album in the way that it is pulled off here. It's just expertly done.
My ethos for writing like a lot of these hooks and choruses and whatnot is I'm just so tired of the Octane Core stuff and how it all sounds exactly the same. Like,
yes.
Even John made a comment about it to me. He was like, you know, like there's so many bands that like come in and like want to do that kind of stuff, and it's just so samey. Whereas this route is like this record, I feel like this is the first one in a long time where I've been like, holy shit, like you've actually thought about the hooks. And I think what it comes down to is I'm not trying to rip off like Octane Core stuff as per mentioned, or I'm not rip off, using them as a reference. I'm using like rock and roll, like My Chem, Foo Fighters, like all those bands from back in the Green Day, like Fall Out Boy. Like I'm not using the current status quo of like what's trendy as like a reference to trying to make hooks. Because when you do that, like now, they all just sound the fucking same. There's nothing interesting about them. They all, I don't know. I could go on for fucking 30 minutes about this shit. But
Keep going. This is going to be a good clip.
Trying to cancel me again, Nathan. Come on. Yeah, it's like that's not my point of reference. And people are like, "Oh, the hooks in this album are so good. What made you come up with them?" I'm like, well, partially was also John's help, but also, as I said, like I'm not using what's current and trendy as like the point of reference for what we want to work. Because also, what's new and current and trendy doesn't really work within Gloom's ethos anyway. Don't get me wrong, there are some great fucking bands and songs out there. Like Bad Omens is great. I know you're gonna hate me for this, but I like Sleep Token as well.
Don't say it.
Like,
thank you.
I knew where that was going.
And thank you everybody for listening. That's it. That's the end of the episode. No. No, but like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of great modern metal artists out there that like, you know, there's a reason why people want to rip them off and like use them as a point of reference. I don't want to. The only time that I have kind of used Sleep Token as a modern point of reference is probably something for like Shadow Rhapsody 2. And I think that's pretty obvious. It's the same thing as like what Slipknot used to say back in the day. It's like, oh, you like us and you want to get into us? Like, look at what influenced us from like the 80s and 90s and like this and this and this and this. It's going back and listening to like those older artists and going from like, okay, well, what did Mike M used to listen to? Misfits, like yada, 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 Iron Maiden, Metallica. Like, okay, cool. You just do a back reference and you start using them. So yeah, that's probably where the influence mainly came from. And I think that's kind of why it shows too, is I'm not trying to look at the modern new stuff and see what's currently trendy. I'm like, I want to write good music.
Yeah. No, and I think that kind of...
There you go, that's a clip.
I want to write good music. I don't want to write songs like Bad Omens, is what you just said.
Mm-hmm. I love a good old guitar riff, and I love a good old squealy and pinch harmonic. God, dude, if I hear Alpha Wolf's The Noise Pedal on another fucking track, I'm going to lose my shit. No disrespect to them either. Like, the pedal's sick, but you've really just put a new staple in the fucking metalcore scene with that one, boys.
They did.
Every track now, I'm like, oh my god, this fucking Talon Electronics pedal is everywhere. I can't escape it.
You got to start listening
it's a sick
to
pedal,
bands
sorry.
Guilt Trip. You know, they're doing the squeals on the guitar that aren't the noise pedal. I'm trying to think.
They're being
orthodox.
Like the noises are being orthodox. Orthodox is great. It's the fact that the pedal. Actually, I'm not gonna entirely throw the pedal under the bus. I'm gonna say that like the techniques that like are involved with that, kind of the same thing with Fall, is that they're replacing riffs. Where are my riffs, dog? And they said like Guilt Trip and like all those more like hardcore or metallic hardcore bass bands, they still got riffs, baby.
Yeah.
My cam had riffs.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is like I really resonate with what you're saying. And I think this is part of like why Gloom resonates with me so much is like I have been around metalcore for a long time now. We were just talking about this in the last episode. It's been at least a decade. Like I've been listening to this music for a long time, and I am so beyond tired of the octane sound. It does nothing for me. I think kind of in general, like I guess you could say like the standard version of metalcore doesn't really move the needle for me a whole lot anymore.
No.
And so it's
I said there are some great bands. There are great bands, but
and there's a part of that where it's like it's the bands like the Gloom in the Corner, the Callous Cowboys, even like from Bring Me the Horizon has done a pretty good job of like keeping their sound fresh and trying new things and pushing the genre in a different direction. From Joy, I heard you say. Psycho Frame, throwing it back and reviving some sound, like and pushing that forward. Like all of these bands, Orthodox. Guilt Trip, like this hardcore side, Knocked Loose doing a song with Denzel Curry. Yes.
Crazy.
Yes, please. Like all of these bands that are doing something a little more interesting with metalcore is what I'm so drawn to right now. And it's because it's different. It's not the vanilla metalcore package, you know? And that's what I'm looking for these days. And y'all do that so well. And I definitely hear that like classic rock and roll influence in a song like Angel's Wrath Whiskey. Like Mikey, that section about 115 in, I feel like you do a little laugh. It's got to be a Nickelback reference. I feel like you were one quesadilla reference shy of a Nickelback
baby, you
moment.
don't even know. Oh, this close. Next record, I'll get it in.
Perfect. That's what I need to hear.
Alright, so we should probably briefly cover the story of this record too.
Yeah. What's going on here?
Alright, so we start off with Apoc Tyranny, and it's pretty much the back end of Hail to the King. Bafco comes in, and he's like, yo, what up, player? This my realm now.
Is that how he talks?
Sure.
All right, it's canon now.
Bafco gangster as hell. Yeah, he comes in, he pretty much takes over as like ruler of the realm. Alinia, who, as I mentioned before, is pretty much Eve, comes back. These are all like big ethereal beings too, and he kind of flexes his muscles a little bit and blows up her vessel. Like, you know that scene from Watchmen where he blows up Rorschach?
Yeah.
Yeah, he pretty much does that to Alinia. Yeah, like it's pretty much picking up where the end of Trinity left off. Pretty much the rest of the world is isolated from Australia because Australia becomes like ground zero for this apocalypse that's happening. The rest of the world is like gone into shenanigans, and because of Baffico's presence, they don't really want to send in military aid, which, you know, you can't really blame them for. So it pretty much gives him like domain over what is Australia in this story. The group gets separated. Clara forms a resistance. Sherlock becomes a cook because he's depressed as fuck from having his powers stripped from him. Jay is working under Baffico. Rachel's off doing her own thing with what remains of Heaven's forces. You Didn't Like Me Then is pretty much a song about Clara finding herself and like setting up the resistance and coming to accept like herself for her flaws and whatnot. Which takes us into Painkiller, where we start covering Jay, who at this point is a substance abusing, narcissistic, alcoholic piece of shit that pretty much has to hunt people down against his own wishes for anyone who goes and defies the king. A couple of Clara's enforcers try to kind of push his shit in, for lack of a better term, and they fucking cark it. And he finds out the location of a secret meeting for Clara. So obviously Clara's kind of like public enemy number one for Baffico, so that's pretty important. So he goes out to go check it out. In between that, like, short range teleportation is pretty much Clara reintroducing her powers of being able to short range teleport and stuff like that. There's nothing really like super significant about the song, but it just pretty much just reinforces that for people. And also it has a big breakdown, so yeah, fun stuff. Where the story starts to get hectic is where we get to Nope. They have this meeting because one of Coffin Crew's previous members has figured out a way to reconfigure Pandora's box and be able to usurp Baffico's powers back off of him, effectively. Because he's pretty much just going around just yoinking powers as he so pleases and becoming more and more powerful. He's like, yo, I want that one. Gotcha. And Jay kind of gate crashes this meeting, and it turns into an all-out gunfight. Him and Clara get into it at the end of it, and he almost kills her before Rachel comes in, and that's what Angel's Wrath is about. Pretty much Rachel comes in at the last second and saves Clara, and she absolutely rocks Jay's shit. Like, pretty much almost kills him. We love a girl boss.
She didn't have a ligma, though.
She didn't have a ligma, but she doesn't need one. Like, the powers that she has from heaven, like, she doesn't need a ligma. There are exterior forces now at play.
He doesn't
She's transcended ligma.
She's transcended ligma. There we go. Clip that. Oh, Jesus.
Gloom lore moment.
Oh, Kata's going to hate me for that one. Yeah, so she pushes his shit in and then pretty much makes sure that Clara and Sherlock and Preacher get out safely and with the box and everything like that. I'd also like to point out before we get any further as well, and over the course of Trinity, Rachel and Clara have a really tumultuous relationship. Like, it is not good. And it's still not really good now, but they decide to put their differences aside because they're like, we need to kill this motherfucker, pointing at King Baffico. So they kind of decide to put their differences aside for the remainder of this record, at least until Love One. What happens when Rachel pushes Jay's shit in is that she breaks the damn seal. What happened when Jay also got the damn seal was that he was pretty like emotionally kind of cut off, which led to why he kind of broke up with Rachel in Gatekeeper, or got over her at least, because he was emotionally numb. Now that like the seal's kind of been broken, he's kind of re-feeling a whole heap of different things, and so he reaches out to Rachel and he's like, yo, can we kind of like bury the hatchet thing? And kind of like, it's kind of his way, it's his I'd like to say not arrogant, but like semi-narcissistic kind of way of like apologizing for a lot of the shit that he's put her through. And it's a kind of turn of leaf moment, but also not really. The only other positive besides him getting emotions back is that with the damn seal breaking as well, it also cuts off the blood connection to Baffico, so he can kind of do whatever the fuck he wants, or who he wants, in which case, in Shadow Rhapsody 2, the who is Rachel.
Nice.
Nice! Yeah, people are like, do they have sex in the song? And I'm like, I made it pretty obvious in the lyrics, dude, yeah. Anyway. Anyway, so yeah, I think even Clara makes a note in the little genius thing being like, oh, so the seal was broken, which means that Baffico's blood pact keeping Jay in line is now broken. He can do whatever he wants. Sure, that's a good thing, but wasn't it also the thing that also stopped him from being possessed in the first place? So, sick. That's not going to come back to bite us in the ass or anything, is it? Yeah. I forgot to mention as well before, Jay and Sherlock are now have their own separate bodies. So that's how they're able to run this.
I see.
Yeah, when they became gatekeepers, they got their own vessels.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, sorry. That's a big thing I probably should have said. It brings us to Assassination Run. Assassination Run is kind of like the side quest of this album, and that's kind of why I wanted to put it first as the singles, because I wanted to remind everybody that we can still push your shit in. But it also doesn't really matter that much to the story. The person or the member of Echo Squad that was rebuilding the box gets murked by his old squad mates who also now work under Baffico. And so Sherlock is like, damn, they killed my friend. I'm gonna go push their shit in again. Which brings us to the back half of the record. That's Life. It's pretty straightforward. It's about all of them having a good old drank before the night of the big battle, or the night before the big battle. It's the last feel-good moment of the record, I like to say. Their friend that was reconfiguring the box didn't finish his work. Originally, it was going to be kind of a bit like a football kind of thing, where you can just yeet the fucker like a grenade, and all's well goes well, and you should be able to usurp Baffico of his powers. Now it's turned into kind of a kamikaze thing. So she pretty much has to be right up on him in order to get this box to work. And he also has to be significantly weakened to do so. Which brings us into Army of Darkness. And Baffico and Rachel's and Clara's forces all fight. Jay gets possessed by Baffico because, of course he fucking does, because of the seal breaking.
What?
So I think I've made a note of Rachel had to throw him into a building just to get him away from the rest of the fucking squad and not do as much damage to their own forces. As I said, like, Jay's pretty tanky as well. So like he can do quite a bit of fucking damage if it wasn't evident in Nope and Painkiller. And so but unfortunately they start losing the battle. And so Clara gets their forces to drop like a supernatural EMP to kind of like level the playing field. Unfortunately, it wiped out a lot of both sides, which really, really pissed off Rachel, which leads us into love. Long story short, her and Rachel go up against Baffico and they win. They're able to set off the device, steal all of his powers. Baffico is very, very, very powerful at this point, and pretty much what they didn't realize happened when they set off the box was that it also entraps like a whole heap of different otherworldly, other dimensionally challenged kind of powers. So yeah, Baffico's lying there defeated. They've got this box which is very fucking unstable, and Alinia, leader of heaven, pardon me, comes back in and goes, we're going to take that box and we're going to use it to rebuild the realms. Clara's like, okay, well, what does that look like? And it pretty much tells her that it's really not going to be that much different under Alinia. So you're replacing one evil for another. Who knew that heaven would suck? Who could have guessed that? Actually, the perfect way of putting it is like, it's like we're trading.
That put Rachel in a pocket dimension and killed her over and over again?
Oh no, they're fine.
No.
I think the best way to put it is we're swapping the Doom dimension for the Wolfenstein dimension. So not good. Yeah, not good. So Clara's like, I'm not giving you guys a box. That's kind of fucking silly. Why would I just put all this work in to make sure that the realm can kind of go back to normal. Why would I give it to a group that's just gonna fucking totalitarianly rule us? And so Rachel's like, who's still working under Heaven, by the way, kind of goes like, no, Clara, kind of, give me the box. She's like, no, you're going to give it to Heaven. Fuck you. And as said, Rachel being Rachel kills her over it. She's kind of like, I'm fucking done with this. Ooh.
It really
She's
be
kinda
your
like,
own sometimes.
It really be your own, kind of.
Sort of.
As said, like, they've never really had, like, a good relationship, and she was just like, fuck this. Like, I don't trust Clara with the box either. Anyway, kills Clara, and then decides that she's going to use the box for herself, and opens the box on herself. And so Rachel has suddenly just become the most powerful fucking person, or entity, in the Gloom universe. She has the ability to bring people back from the dead if she wants to. She has the ability to kill people with a single thought. She pretty much becomes like the closest thing to our universe's equivalent of the Grim Reaper. She can set up little pocket dimensions for herself if she wants to. She can teleport. She can do this, that, and the other. That's not a nod to what may potentially be coming in the future or anything like that.
Ooh.
But yeah, and then Love too. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, she kills Clara and fucks off with the box and all these powers and whatnot. Baffico is still alive. He's kind of like, yo, I'm gonna yeet myself out of here. And Linya's like, well, I don't know what to do now, so I'm just gonna leave too. Well, I don't know what to do, dog. I'm not reviving you. You wouldn't give me the box. And so yeah, Love 2 is pretty much before the events of Army of Darkness. Clara wrote a letter for Sherlock in the events that she would die, which obviously is that, and that's pretty much what Love 2 is. It's pretty much her final kind of like letter and goodbye, not just to Sherlock, but I guess to the audience as well. So yeah, and that's the story of Royal Discordance. Also, Ronan comes in at the end, but he's back from vacation, and it's kind of a shit show. He chose a hell of a time to go on vacation.
Yeah, for real.
So
it's a
go.
great album. It's fantastic. It's everything I could want in a follow-up to Trinity. And I'm sure we will talk about it again on this show by the end of the year. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
It's fantastic. And Mikey, you guys did a great job.
Thank
you
you,
should be proud.
I appreciate that. We are proud. We are very proud.
Very good. All right, well, to close this thing out, Mikey, can you actually read us your list of how you rank the Gloom albums from least favorite to favorite?
I'm about to throw my chud children under the bus.
Yeah, and it's going to be clipped.
Hell yeah. So my ranking for my own music is at number 6, we have Homecoming. At number 5, we have Flesh and Bones. At number 4, we have Fear Me. At number 3, we have Trinity. At number 2, we have Ultima Pluvia. And at number 1, we have Royal Discordance.
Excellent. We have one more thing to do before we close this absolute barn burner out. Our patrons know ahead of time who we're going to cover. And if you're on our second tier, our diehard tier, you can send me your list and I'll play it on the show for us to react to. This first one here is from Derek, longtime patron.
As usual, my rankings from worst to best. The Homecoming EP, Ultima Pluvia EP, Fear Me, Flesh and Bones, Royal Discordance, and Trinity. Cheers, boys. Shout out Mikey again.
That's almost my list.
That's very
That's
close.
a pretty dang good list.
That's very close.
You kind of
fuck Homecoming.
No.
Fuck my chud son.
It's a good project. It's good.
Oh, it's fine. Minus one thing in particular about it. Anyway.
All right, this next one is from Seth.
My ranking for the Gloom in the Corner at number 6, Ultima Pluvia. Number 5, Homecoming. 4, Fear Me. 3, Flesh and Bones. 2, Trinity. And at number 1, Royal Discordance.
Based King. I don't like the Ultima slander, though.
Top 3 was peak, I will say.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Top 3, he nailed it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He nailed it. I gotta say, that's my boy Seth. He's shout out our fantasy baseball league. This next one,
Based.
based for sure. Shout out Team
Baseball.
Australia losing in pool play. Baseball.
Baseball.
There we go. This next one is from Nathaniel. Oh no, where's the attachment?
Did he have one last time on the Nickelback one too?
I think so.
I think we had a very similar list.
I'll get it from him, but I don't have an attachment on that email. I should have checked that ahead of time.
Oh, whoops.
So this last one for now, is from Man Sox Jr., our newest diehard.
All right, Gloom in the Corner ranking time. Let it be known, I love all of these projects, and Mikey is the GOAT. All right, number
Thank
6, it's Ultima Pluvia. Number 5 is Fear Me. Number 4, Flesh and Bones. Number 3 is the Homecoming EP. Number 2 is Trinity. And I promise it's not just recency bias. Number 1 is Royal Discordance.
Bless
Pretty
you.
dang good list, I gotta say.
Except for,
Yeah,
except
I
for the
respect it
Ultima
a lot.
slander.
Look,
Yeah.
look, I like Ultima a lot, but it's only 3 songs.
It needs to be beefier.
Beef it
3
up.
bangers, bro.
But it's 3 bangers, though.
It's
See,
3
and this is
bangers,
something
though.
we've run into on this show before. Is it about hit rate, or is it about, as a project?
I mean,
is
if
it
you really
beefy
think
enough?
about it, Homecoming's only got 3 bangers too. Brother,
4,
War, Paramore.
4.
Oh, sure, okay, we'll throw in Rodent. Fine. I
Yeah,
guess.
throw in Rodent. Absolutely throw in Rodent. What do you mean?
I am war. I am pestilent. My chud son, Homecoming.
Well, to send this thing home,
Oh.
thank you to all our patrons for your ongoing support. Nathaniel, I'm sorry I don't have your list. I'll get that in there in post.
Mikey, I owe you an apology. I was unfamiliar with your game. My ranking is 6, Ultima Pluvia, 5, Fear Me, 4, Homecoming, 3, Flesh and Bones, 2, Royal Discordance, and number 1, Trinity. Peace out.
I'll just be like, yeah, dude. Actually, you can cut this
Yeah,
one.
Mikey,
Yeah, dude,
give
sick
me something
list.
to clip.
That list sucked, dude. Fuck, I don't know. I'm
gonna
kidding.
leave those both in.
Yeah, just in case it's good or bad. You get both sides of the coin, I guess. Fuck.
That's perfect.
Alright, in 4th place, I have Flesh and Bones. In 3rd, I have Fear Me. In 2nd, I have Royal Discordance. And in 1st, I have Trinity. Thank you.
All right. Mikey, again, thank you so much for being here. Jeff, thank you for being here. Everyone who listened, thank you for being here. We appreciate you all so much, and we'll see you on the next one.